Please stand for the
Our two student ambassadors, Isabel is absent today and Luke is here.
Present.
Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Well, this month we've got some exciting things. We're going to begin our evening with Pride recognition. I'm going to invite the board to the center and invite Teresa Camitas to lead us through honoring our staff who really represent the best values in our district. And we want to thank you all and your families for joining us this evening.
Okay, tonight the Board of Education acknowledges our Pride winners for the month of April. Pride stands for proudly recognizing individuals demonstrating excellence. The Board of Education implemented this program in the fall of 2015 to recognize, promote, and celebrate the many contributions made by teachers and employees across our district. We thank our generous district partners, Serve Bank, Huntington Learning Center, Chick-fil-A, and Culver's, who helped make this program a success. We would also like to thank all of those who nominate individuals for consideration of the awards. Awardees, after your name is called and we share your nomination, please come forward to be congratulated by the board and Dr. Calgatti. We'll start with our April Teachers of the Month. Rachel Berry, Prairie Point Elementary School psychologist. Rachel's dedication and commitment to supporting students, colleagues, and families at Prairie Point, as well as her proactive approach to learning about the deaf and hard of hearing community and students, is commendable. Rachel creates a supportive environment for both students and colleagues through her calm, collected, and caring demeanor, ensuring every student's needs are met with empathy and understanding. Congratulations, Rachel. Next, we welcome Mary Ingford, Thompson Junior High Avid teacher. Mary is a highly committed educator who consistently goes the extra mile to support students, not only in the classroom, but also beyond. In her multiple roles as an ELA teacher, avid advisor, yearbook editor, and active member of numerous school committees, she demonstrates an unwavering dedication to her students' success. Mary's dedication to enriching the overall student experience demonstrates her commitment to promoting a positive and engaging school environment, as well as setting a commendable example for future leaders in education. Congratulations, Mary. Carrie Sumar, Fox Chase 4th grade teacher. Carrie, definition of a phenomenal teacher, going above and beyond for her students, fellow teammates, and other staff in the building. She is always welcoming, understanding, and willing to help through constructive feedback and policy. She is a lifelong learner that models the importance of this mindset for fellow staff and students. She teaches her students the emotional, social, and academic skills they need to be successful in their future careers. She builds relationships and connections with her students and creates a sense of community in her classroom that is truly remarkable. Congratulations, Carrie. Hey, administrators here this evening from the schools to join us for the picture. Bill, where's your spotting?
I feel more comfortable with this, though, than the chair.
Next, we will award our amazing support staff winners. Awardees, again, as your name is called, please come forward so we can congratulate you. For support staff, Priscilla Cuevas, Boulder Hill Elementary Crossing Guard. Priscilla has helped Boulder Hill in so many ways. She generously gives of herself and is always there to lend a hand to both students and staff with smile and joy. While her primary responsibilities this year are crossing guard, office support, and monitoring lunches and recesses, there really isn't an area of Boulder Hill where she doesn't help support. Her good nature and her spirit are invaluable to Boulder Hill. She represents her school in an awesome way and is a true example of a team player. Congratulations. Patricia Luna de Pacias, transportation bus driver. Patricia is positive, inclusive, and goes above and beyond to make the trip to and from school enjoyable and safe for all of her students. When children are anxious and scared to ride the bus, she helps make children feel safe when stepping on. She is an all-star, and the transportation department is so lucky to have her. She truly cares about all the students. Congratulations, Patricia. Next up, Martin Pacindo, transportation bus driver. Martin demonstrates the highest quality of integrity. He is reliable in servicing students both during pickup and drop-off. He is kind to students and teaches them lessons in integrity and respect by holding them accountable for their actions. He takes it upon himself to learn about the kids, about their families and their interests by introducing himself and having meaningful conversations with kids and their parents. Parents are grateful and feel their kids are safe and secure in the hands of Martin, and we congratulate you. Okay, so if we have any of our administrators for these winners, if you could come up for a photo, please. Congratulations, everyone. Okay, and next up, we have special recognition for our Fox Valley Therapy Dog Club. If we could have the members of the club come up forward, please. So tonight, we are, on behalf of the Oswego Community Unit School District 308 Board of Education, we're thanking you for your service to our students and staff. Your volunteer service through Canine Therapy has made a positive difference in countless lives of many students and staff, and we want to thank you. So congratulations for being recognized, and thank you so very much for all you do. And stay up there when you're done so we can do a photo, please. Bella's ready for her moment. We have dog treats for all of our furry friends. Miss Bella. If we could do one photo, please. Kind of come in front. There you go. Oh, Bella, what a good girl. There we go. You gotta make kissy noises today. That's okay. She looks pretty. Yeah, Carol, you go over there. Here, Carol. Here, Thank you so much. They are in our schools almost every day and play a pivotal role in working with many of our students. So we really do appreciate all that you guys do. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, on to our student recognition. So tonight we are also proud to acknowledge the award-winning efforts of our students who have received state and/or national recognition for their school-related activities. Our first group of students here tonight, we want to congratulate the coaches and students who competed and placed at the Illinois Design Educators Association Regional Competition. The Oswego East students are coached by Ryan Pensine and Dan Orkin, and the Oswego High School students are coached by Gina Korzak and Brian Allen. Students, as your name is called, we'd like to invite you to come forward and be congratulated by the board. Oswego East High School. Jimmy Harrison, a senior, first placed in state qualified in assembly modeling. Dominic DeMattis, sophomore, second place in state qualified in assembly modeling. Jensen Kuhnrath, senior, third place in 3D computer-aided design modeling. Haven Berry, Connor McCaddy, senior, and Haley Sorich, senior, second place in engineering design team event. Miss Emma Kincaid, senior, Hannah Rourke, junior, and Adrian Cholashkowski, junior. Third place in architectural design team event. And we have one student from Oswego High School, Arlette Antunes, senior, first place and state qualified for in 3D architectural board drawing. Congratulations to all of those winners. If we have any coaches or advisors or anything here, principals, anybody? Ms. Kincaid, would you like to join the photo? Yes, yes, you do.
Proud mama.
All right, our next group of students are from Oswego East High School, and we would like to recognize them for having achieved above and beyond in the classroom. These 4 individuals have been awarded a $2,500 National Merit Scholarship. Please welcome forward Amul Prakouch, Jensen Kuhnrad, Sunmar Srinivas, and Manya Srivastrava. We congratulate each of these young students on their way to becoming successful future leaders. So congratulations. And again, we would invite up administration. Okay, Gloria's here. There you go. For a photo. Congratulations, students. Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight and for all of our exciting accomplishments.
Yeah, I agree. Yep. I should say, I'll say something. No. No, I don't think so.
Appreciate it.
It's good feedback. Right?
Or am I putting it? All right, then. Good?
I think she knew it too.
Oh. Oh. Somebody need to get a picture of that. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Bella. No, it ain't gonna be no one more time.
Love it.
Love it.
I don't love my own. I don't love my own.
Come on, Dominic. What's up?
All right, 5.1.
Spoiled.
Wait,
How about that?
opportunity for the, oh, okay, 5.1, there is no public comment tonight. No one has submitted a comment card, and so we'll be moving on to 6.1.
Thank you, Board. This evening, we have a presentation of our social emotional learning curriculum presentation. I'm going to invite Dr. Paul, who will introduce some of the other guests who will be joining her. And we want to thank all of you for making the time to join us at the board meeting. I know it's been a process of engagement and learning, and we have students this evening. I will be the first to say thank you, students, for coming out on a school night, and we thank you for your presence here, and can't wait to hear more about what you have to share.
They still have to go to school tomorrow.
And we do have school.
We do have some
That's
visitors
why they're
with
first on the
us.
program.
We have our teachers, some students, and myself presenting, and when it's their turn, I'll hand the mic over to them. We're very excited to share with you this evening about our social emotional learning curriculum and universal screener proposal.
Good evening. I'm Sarah Fisher, Assistant Principal at Prairie Point Elementary School, and I've had the privilege to be a part of the SEL Equity Universal Screener Committee. As we will be discussing our recommended Tier 1 SEL Equity Curriculum and SEL Equity Universal Screener, we hope that you will notice how the tool aligns with our district's priorities. Through the use of our recommended SEL curriculum, our aim is to promote not just academic excellence from our students, but also foster emotional intelligence, resilience, and empathy. Additionally, the Universal Screener will assist the district in redefining our culture and climate, creating a process for understanding our students' social emotional learning competencies. As you can see, this evening we have a number of staff members that will be presenting parts of the presentation. We're so excited for everyone to be a part of this work. Additionally, you'll see some names up there of those that were not able to join us tonight but assisted with the development of this presentation. We're also so excited because we have a number of students that will be supporting the conversation this evening. This slide provides important data from the district's 5 Essential survey. Student study habits, safety, peer relationships, and responsibility profoundly impact their holistic development. By improving these areas, we feel that we can empower students as whole individuals. We believe that by enhancing social emotional competencies, it will lead to academic, social, and emotional success. However, our recommendation is not just about the data, it's about nurturing well-rounded learners who thrive in all aspects of their lives.
So what you see in front of you is the timeline of what led us to you this evening. We had a committee where we were comprised of preschool through grade 12 members of our district community reviewing our social emotional learning universal screeners. We actually took a deeper dive into evidence-based universal screeners and identified as a committee our recommendation that you're going to hear this evening. And our goal is to have the community view the materials for 30 days after we present this to you, and then bring this back to you again for further review in the June board meeting.
Hi, Allie Anderson. So when we look at just the Universal Screener Committee, notice that we wanted to make sure that all levels were represented, as well as from a variety of different schools. So those are all of us that worked with the screener portion. And then when we're looking at the curriculum and the screener, the needs and priorities that we had, so these were the 5 top. So obviously we wanted it to be engaging and interactive for students when we think about the curriculum, and also when they're taking the screener. Culturally diverse, addresses the needs for the whole school. You're going to hear more about the parent and home component later on, and also that most important, we always need to look for something that's available in English and in Spanish since we have a dual language program.
Good evening. My name is Harini Kannan, and I'm the second grade teacher at Grand Park Elementary. These are the members that were part of the SEL Curriculum Review Committee. The members were chosen to represent our diverse community and incorporate teachers and administrators from all schools, preschool through junior high.
Hi, I'm Sue Ann Pierce, I'm a 4th grade teacher at Old Post. This is the rubric that we used as we were looking at the initial curricula. We wanted to make sure that what we chose would align with the needs of our students and families, was what was most important to staff and met the logistical needs of our teachers, and also aligned with our district goals and met our social emotional learning competencies.
Good evening. I'm Amanda Thilk. I teach 8th grade language arts at Bednarsik. I'm going to give you a little more detail about what we did each month of our meeting. So in October 2023, the SEL Curriculum Committee came together to establish the priorities that were most important in a new curriculum. A curriculum review of 13 different programs began. At the November meeting, teachers presented their findings from the 13 programs that were explored. Strengths and weaknesses of each were shared, and the committee took their list of 13 down to 3 possible programs.
In December, representatives of the 3 leading curricula from our review presented to the committee. Using the rubric that was established for the curriculum review, the committee realized that only one SEL curriculum stood out above the others: Character Strong. Character Strong has a cultural responsiveness that the other curricula lacked. It also has a student and parent engagement piece that is invaluable when communicating about social emotional learning. In addition, Character Strong has a digital component that's already formatted to Spanish that supports our dual language classrooms. Between January and March 2024, the committee piloted the Character Strong program. There were multiple meetings and check-ins so that grade level specific conversations could take place. Students who were part of the pilot were also invited to check in virtually during these meetings to share their experiences and feedback. The feedback from the pilot teachers was positive. The committee agreed that in addition to the winning aspects that were already pinpointed, the Character Strong program addresses the needs of the school as a whole and has a positive impact on the culture and climate of the building. There's ongoing teacher professional development available from Character Strong that will especially help with implementation and collaboration. And those were some of the ideas that were pinpointed.
Hi, I'm Beth Jamnick, 3rd grade teacher at Lakewood Creek Elementary School. During our pilot of Character Strong, we took into account not only the administration's feedback, teacher feedback, but also our student feedback. So I have two of my students here that would like to share some comments from our class, as well as some things that were created as part of the program.
Hi, my name is Sarth Solake. I think that my favorite part of the lesson was when we read the book. It made me think more about cooperation. I also like the amount of games. The activities are fun. The class liked the brain booster and also when we made the cooperation posters.
My name is Angel Hachivo. I like Character Strong because I can see other people's point of view. I also learned about friendship and working together. Cooperation is the same as teamwork. I like the exercise game because it was challenging. I like to learn about cooperation and to create our own posters. I liked it when in empathy that the videos and the little pixels of the little sun and water drop helping each other.
Good. Good job, Sarah.
She didn't need no paper.
If approved, Character Strong will replace our current curriculum of Second Step for grades K to 8 at this time. The character traits included in your packet are the same at all levels. Character Strong allows all levels to focus on the same character trait at the same time within a building. This slide shows some of the skills within those character traits that were addressed in our pilot. In my classroom, we focused on responsibility and organization. I have two students from my class to share with you what they experienced with Character Strong.
Hi, my name is Emma, and one thing I learned is that I can't control what happens to me, but I can control how I react to it.
Oh, so beautiful.
Hi, I'm Avery, and one thing I learned is I learned different meanings for the word responsibility because I thought about it from a different perspective.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michael Swanson, the assistant principal at Old Post. I'll probably take credit for these two right behind me. So I'm here to share about the parent component of Character Strong. So one of the things that I heard Allie share was one of these guiding principles we had in our pilot. We wanted something that came with a parent and home component so that the conversations that we have at school continue at home. So we collected the survey after conducting the pilot. And I'm going to share two quotes with you tonight. Here's the first one. This one talks about the newsletter that's available in the curriculum that teachers can send home. And this family went above and beyond. They set goals with their student. They talked about perseverance. And then they followed up with the teacher to give feedback, which informed our piloting process and ideally will inform how it's implemented going forward.
Hi, I'm Whitney Thayer. I teach ELA at Plank. I'm also a district dual language parent. So we got to pilot the junior high topics in my classroom. 6th, 7th, and 8th have similar topics throughout the grade level, and after some introductory lessons that tell you a little bit about what the structure of the program looks like and the expectations, there are at least 2 lessons per topic. The activities are engaging and interactive, and the thing that I heard most from my students was that they appreciated it being age appropriate in the representation, in the videos, in the terminology used, and they didn't feel talked down to. We got to look at understanding stress, empathy, and mental health. They really liked it, and even when I was out on a day that we usually do SEL, they asked to be able to do SEL. So that was a huge thing for us. I have Uriah with me who would like to share about his experience.
Hi, my name is Uriah Tinholder. I like the fact that this Character Strong curriculum was more interactive than any other thing I've done, because all the other stuff was they would just hand you a paper and you would just have to write what you see. But now we get to walk around, we get to say what we think, and all this stuff has been helping me not only inside the school but outside with making friends, seeing new people, talking to people, and all that other stuff.
Excellent.
Hi. So student engagement in our Character Strong pilot was very strong, and as our sixth grader, seventh grader was talking about, the interaction in this program is wonderful. The poster up there you see of that tree is one of the lessons, and that tree poster helped students not only in the classroom but outside the classroom at recess. The roots are the size of the problem, and so the students can say whether it's a small root, a large root, and then they move on to the trunk of the tree, which is the heart, the feelings. How did they feel about the problem? And then they go to the branches. How are they going to solve the problem? And this seemed to really resonate with a lot of the students.
Hi there, I'm Jen O'Reilly, a second grade teacher at Hunt Club Elementary. Teacher feedback was extremely important to the committee, and the feedback that we got was very, very positive. Student engagement was high, and we experienced firsthand the transfer of skills that we taught in the classroom with the students. We love the website. It's easy to navigate, and it provides a variety of resources like games, videos, book suggestions, posters, and of course the curriculum itself. The lessons are adaptable with little or no planning. There was also a committee member that was able to teach with another dual language teacher. They were easily able to switch between English and Spanish during that lesson. Having a curriculum that fits the diverse needs of our student was extremely important to us. Character Strong met those needs. Our committee was made up of not only classroom teachers, but teachers on special assignment and also administrators. We even had students join us via Google Meet to answer questions and give us firsthand feedback. So you can see in the picture, there's some of the committee members and there's all the kids that joined us during their Google Meet, which was pretty special.
So here's that second quote from a parent that we collected as part of our feedback. They're, on their own volition, recognizing one of the SEL competencies that we feel like Character Strong can address, the social awareness piece. This comes from a second grade family in the district, and they're recognizing how that skill building in kindergarten, first grade, second grade leads up and will support the children going forward. Again, we're proposing this curriculum K through 8, and we're hoping and we're believing that it will serve those needs as kids grow.
Okay, before we dive into the universal screener process, let's give a round of applause for those really brave kids and awesome staff that presented about our curriculum. Okay, so I'm now excited to share more information about our recommended SEL universal screener. So we met starting back in September of 2022. And as a committee, that's really when we first started to embark on our SEL journey within the district. So through this journey, we dove into looking at universal screeners. And so if you don't know what a universal screener is, it's a tool that assists in identifying strengths and areas for growth within our students. And so in this initiative, we were really looking at strengths and areas for growth in those SEL competencies. So to get more information, we had gathered some research, we attended different presentations, and we really wanted to find the best fitting tool for our district. And so fast forward to today, and we're going to share information about our recommendation.
Thanks. All right, so we know that student SEL data is something that we've been missing, and so when we know more, we're able to do more with that information. And so, again, focusing on our priorities and what were important to us so that we could make a quality decision for our kids. I'm going to go ahead. You can obviously see them, but highlight just a few. We wanted it available in multiple languages, and we wanted to make sure that it was easy to implement across the district, as well as continuing support for that implementation. Also that it was accessible for all grade levels, but it is important to note that it is going to be starting at 3rd grade. And then when we were looking, Sarah had mentioned different presentations and seeing different options. We used this rubric, and just important to note that it was tied to the social emotional learning competencies when we were making those choices.
So as a committee, we are recommending Panorama as our universal screener of choice. So when making this decision, we focused not just on the right fit, but finding something that resonated with the values and goals within the district. So what this screener does is it really provides administrators and staff members with that data piece and identifying those strengths and areas for growth, as I mentioned earlier. As Allie stated, we're looking to administer this screener to students in 3rd through 12th grade. It is available for kindergarten through 12th, but we felt like starting in 3rd is a good point to start with for our students, and we're going to recommend that we're administering it twice a year in both the late fall and late spring, which will match up with our academic benchmarking dates. It's really important to know that when we're talking about this universal screener, we're not talking about a mental health screener here. What we're doing is this is going to help us look at the health of our Tier 1 SEL curriculum, right? And how are our students progressing within that curriculum. So this next slide is helping us to dive a little bit deeper into what Panorama looks like. And so in Panorama, you can see that we have normed data on how students respond to various questions aligned with those social emotional learning competencies. Having this normed data allows us to make comparisons not only within our district, but within other schools around that are using the same universal screener. You'll also notice at the top that there's a student component and a teacher and staff component. At this point in time, we're looking to focus on the student self-rating to gather that information of how students feel with their social emotional learning competencies. And finally, this last one is how this next slide filters out demographic groups for us and their responses to specific questions. So by examining these specific questions that are then aligned to the social emotional competencies, we're able to gather deeper insights on how different demographic groups perceive those various competencies. Additionally, Panorama will be easily integrated into 5 Labs, which is our district data warehouse. And so that will make it more accessible and usable as we're having conversations regarding student support discussions. And so staff and administrators within our district have long expressed the need for this data point and having those conversations. And so recommending this universal screener to all of you is a significant step in that integration for our students and staff.
So as we conclude our presentation, we wanted to share with you the financial piece of the SEL curriculum cost annually, and also if we were to sign an annual 3-year contract and the total cost for your review. In addition, just to clarify, our SEL curriculum that we're recommending would replace our current curriculum, Second Step, which we've had in our district for over 10 years. It's also important to note that during this pilot process, we did pilot our SEL curriculum preschool through grade 8. Through feedback from teachers and students, we decided that we were going to move forward with a recommendation kindergarten through grade 8 only next year. Character Strong took our feedback about the preschool lessons being a little bit too complex for our youngest learners, and they are making adjustments. We will pilot again next year and review to determine if we would like to implement Character Strong at the preschool level in the future. You'll see on this slide here our tentative projected implementation plan. We are very aware of our current literacy implementation plan that's going to kick off in the fall. And so we really want to be mindful about when we do our SEL curriculum implementation as well as a universal screener. And you can see that's outlined there in front of you. And we are open to hear any feedback or questions that you might have this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Paul, and to your team. What a wonderful, wonderful surprise. And I want to just lead off by thanking our students again for coming out tonight. High five to all of you. I'm so proud of you as a superintendent, and nothing makes me more excited to see your poise. So kudos to all of you. Questions, board?
I don't have any questions. I just want to reiterate one thing that you touched on at the end, Dr. Paul, and I probably said this about a couple of things in the past, but the importance of PD. So thank you for emphasizing that. And you listened at our last because we saw this at our committee meeting, and I said, SEL or ELA is coming, and then SEL is coming. So just being cognizant of that PD load for some of our teachers, especially 3, 8, all that are getting the double. So thank you for addressing that, and just to, I'm always in support of more PD as you're rolling out things, so that would be, another, something I'm happy to support if it comes to that, if we need it. And then my other encouragement, another thing I just mentioned at the committee meeting was just thinking more strategically maybe about high school. I think that's a future iteration of what that could look like. We obviously have a screener now for it. We know that the screener will kind of evaluate our K-8 implementation or our 3-8 or K-8 with the screener going, or you know what I'm saying. But I'm interested in hearing more about high school in the future.
Yes.
If I could, this is still on, can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. If I could address what you're sharing, because I think it's a really great point. The high school course teams last year worked on integrating social emotional learning standards into their courses. And as we embark next year on a curriculum review cycle, all curriculum review maps will include social emotional learning standards. Okay. And I know our literacy program that we're going to be implementing next year has that embedded within. So we're eager to hear and see how that integration works even at the secondary level.
Right. Thank you.
And then just a follow-up to the professional development, I was excited to hear you say that I know that this program has the ability to do the teachers as well. And so, of course, we know a well-regulated adult helps us to regulate our kids. And so I think that it's very, if we have not already used something for professional development, if this is an opportunity, I would love to hear more about how this could be integrated as well.
Dr. Paul, can you speak to the coordination you've been doing with Kiana, who's now leading our professional development planning process? And would you share a little bit about that? Because I think it would be interesting. One of the investments we did this year, board, was in hiring somebody who would really help facilitate and think about the pacing. They're not providing the PD, just to make sure it's clear. They're not providing all the PD, but they're really important in that role. So Dr. Paul, could you share a little bit about that?
Yes, thank you. So Ms. Harrell and I have been meeting on a regular basis to talk about how we can continue to support professional development ongoing. This year, we also had an opportunity to pilot some leadership wellness with principals, assistant principals, program admin. These two are shaking their heads. They're part of that. Really good feedback. We'd like to continue to see how we can continue to support the wellness of all of our staff moving forward.
Thank you.
So I'm glad to hear that you're thinking about vertical articulation as you move this forward past, 8th grade. And as it relates to the budget, so we've had second step for the last 10 years, right? And is there any, in the transition, is there any financial requirements as we move from that to here that aren't reflected in these costs?
So we sign an annual contract with Second Step, so we would need to sign an annual contract for preschool only, which would be significantly less, but I can get you that information.
Thank you.
So when we're looking at that, first of all, thank everyone, especially our students. It's very powerful and impactful when they're here. I see some future student ambassadors out there, so that's exciting. First and foremost, incredibly important work. We are not mental health providers. We understand that. I love that you said that. But we also understand that we can't just say, sorry, not going to deal with mental health, leave it at the door. So what we're giving is kids confidence to be able to deal, students confidence to be able to deal with the things that do arise and do possibly affect their mental health. I get very frustrated, and it's a pet peeve of mine when it is picked apart in the bigger world as to being something, nefarious. It's not at all. We could have, at least my generation, could have benefited from a little more social emotional learning in my time. So thank you. This is really important work. I just want to understand this is a 3-year but these are 2 separate purchases basically. And then the total is, for 3 years is 280, 560. So the two total costs put together. Got it. But we could, if for some reason down the road we decided not to use the curriculum, we could still keep the screener.
So we will put the SEL curriculum and the SEL Universal Screener in our curriculum review cycle. So every 4 years, we'll be reviewing it in its entirety to ensure we're doing this with fidelity like our other content areas.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
I would just like to say as well, I love seeing whenever there's students here. It's just awesome as a student ambassador to hear that student voice, and I know that's why we have a big part of SEL is the students, and that's why we're here. So I love seeing them. And I also love that it's expanding through 8th grade as well, because it's setting some of the foundations that we've been talking about in our student committee that high schoolers are struggling with. And so I think it addresses some of that. And so just from what I've seen today, I'm very impressed. So thank you all for your hard work.
Thank you, Liv.
I know it just feels like a night and day curriculum versus what we had. I don't know. Some of the comments that were shared, by the students, I don't know, seems much more interactive. Again, a lot of head nods. So that's, I don't know, it seems almost too good to be true, but, let's hope it helps our students, improves performance and helps their emotional well-being.
I do want to note we have one of our potential partners with us this evening. Jessie for Panorama came just to support, and Character Strong has equally been supportive during our journey there in Arizona, so they're not able to be here physically. But thank you so much for your feedback.
And I just say thank you to all who endeavored in this. It's greatly appreciated, so all stakeholders. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. And so 30 days, just to clarify, 30 days it'll be on display, and then it'll come to the board on June 3rd. Is that correct? For its final vote. Okay. Have a good evening, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
very much.
It's nice. Yeah.
Don't even get me started. Only has one more meeting.
Oh.
Oh, yeah?
Luke has only one more meeting.
Oh.
Don't get me verklempt.
Thank you.
All right, we're moving on to 7.1. We'll ask Dr. Kelgati to provide us with his superintendent report.
All right. Thank you, President Simulton. This evening, I want to begin by just really wishing a blessed Passover to those who are celebrating and who are reflecting this week. It's one of the holiest of holy days, and we want to just extend our reflection with those who are celebrating Passover. Today is Earth Day as well, and Friday is Arbor Day. Both are important opportunities to reflect on the world around us and what we are doing to do our part for sustainability in the future. We're also proud of our students who came out tonight. Shout outs to all of those who were honored this evening. And I have to, I know that's in some of the other comments, but I do want to give a special shout out to our robotics team. If you don't know robotics yet, to know robotics is to know about advocacy, brilliance, creativity, a spirit of collaboration and advocacy for all that our students, the best of our students. So I want to congratulate them for their work this past their competition, and we'll be inviting them soon here. We do have a full schedule this evening, but it's important that I just say a couple quick things that I wanted to share. One, over the past several months, as you've heard, we've dedicated a lot of time to really developing the structures and systems for our 8 priorities as we think about a strategic roadmap to our strategic plan next year. One of those key priorities has been really building a foundation for stability and predictability and collaborating with our educators and really creating a foundation for those. So if you have not watched our board meetings in the last couple of weeks, months, I invite you to really look on those, and you'll be hearing more about that on our website and in our presentations in our schools. Our school leaders are also diving into this work, and we want to thank our leaders for their patience as we coordinated and got ready to launch some of this work more formally in terms of how it will impact school improvement planning for next year. Because at the end of the day, the schools are the most important places in our district. We don't have a district school. We have schools and tremendous places of learning that we want to support. Part of that has been our hiring, which is priority number 5, and I've asked Dr. Zwemke to speak a few minutes about priority 5 and some of the ways in which this is being reflected and some of the things that have been happening. Dr. Zwemke.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, Board. Our really 3 key priorities within priority number 5 in HR is to recruit, retain, and reward our staff members. And when we think about those 3 priorities, it's important to understand how many full-time staff members we have. We have 2,391 staff members, certified of 1,498, classified 893. And it's important that we think about each and every one of them as we do. We recognize that we have a number of open certified positions, 98.36. Yes, that finite down to the numbers with the amount of amazing work done by our level leaders, our principals, throughout the process in staffing our buildings. We recognize how many open classified positions we have, and that's non-certified teachers. Think about teachers' assistants, bus monitors, things like that. Our goal throughout both systems is to develop something for our staff, all nearly 2,400 people, that is predictable, explainable, and sustainable year over year, system-wide. We've created a 5-step process for our OEA members. We'll be working on our OESPA members very, very soon, where we had 5 distinct stages to create a spirit of transparency and volunteerism. In the 7th largest school district in the state, I think it's very important that we offered our staff an opportunity if they wanted to use another endorsement, teach at another level, they could do so. Nearly 70 did. And rather than looking at an involuntary transfer process where we would have to reduce and somebody would have to leave a school that they didn't want to leave, somebody else might say, you know what, I'd like to do that. So we created that culture of really focused in on our 6 core values and asked folks, what would you like to do? Both unions, all 4 of our unions are outstanding, but both unions related to staffing, OESPA and OEA, have just been outstanding, absolutely outstanding. So we're now entering stages 3 and 4 of staffing with some involuntary transferring where it's necessary. We just want to make sure everybody has a home. And then our principals are interviewing. They're interviewing internal candidates. They're interviewing external candidates. I've been approving some just as early as today that will come to you at the May 6th board meeting for recommendation. Our goal also with OESPA is really to reduce this year the dependency on contract service folks, all the way through eliminating the reliability on contract service TAs and so on. So I just wanted to give a really brief update this evening on where we're at. We're very busy. As I shared, I know we had Ms. Law here and Ms. Candelario here talking about the recruiting. The recruiting paid off. We've been very aggressive in where we've been. We've been very aggressive with our principals, our level leaders, and we have some exciting times ahead of us. And once we get them, our goal is to keep them. We're excited to have a mentoring program that will be starting here right in really late July. So I'll provide an update on that as we get ready. But we just wanted to update Priority 5 this evening. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Zwemke. I want to now invite members of the board to extend part of the superintendent's comments, some celebrations and reminders that we want to highlight.
I think you alluded to this one already, but so I'll go I'll go a little rogue on it. But our robotics team, Geared Forward, just returned from competing in the first championship international event in Houston. Team earned their way to this culminating event through hard work this season. We're proud of you. I had the opportunity a few weeks back when they had their event at Bednarsik, and there was a parent in the district who was affiliated with another district that I'm familiar with, and they're like, and they asked me, they said, why don't we have something like this at that district? I'll just leave it at that. And you know, it spurred a conversation, but basically, you know, the part of the conversation I will repeat is, I don't think we fully grasp, those of us that maybe aren't in the robotics or directly, how much of a gem this truly is here. I mean, it is incredible. Anyone who comes across it, please take the time to really talk, discuss, see. It is awesome. It is awesome what is done there. It is awesome the competition. It is awesome the diversity in what they do and what they bring to the table. And so we're proud of you. Just didn't seem like enough.
No.
So.
Thank you, Jerry.
Boulder Hill Elementary School recently hosted an Avid Showcase. Educators from other area districts gathered at Boulder Hill to learn more about how Avid is implemented in our district. Great job to Boulder Hill for being an example for others. Shall I continue on?
I think Dr. Moody knows.
Go ahead.
Thanks, John.
This Thursday, we're going to celebrate service awards and retirees at our annual district celebration. These staff have contributed over 1,400 years to serving our students and staff. What an incredible accomplishment, and congratulations to each of them. Additionally, at the Art Connected opening, Oswego High School received a top 20 plaque for receiving over $2.5 million in scholarship offers. One OHS artist received a gold medal in painting, and 2 won Senior Portfolio Receipt Awards. Great job to those students.
Wow. 8th graders from our 5 junior highs got together with Mr. Robert Herrings, a guest conductor from Texas, and rehearsed for many hours to put together a great program, including the world premiere of a new piece for concert band. Great job to junior high band students.
I'm excited to talk about two particular sports one from OHS, the bass fishing team, who finished 3rd in their conference, and so that was just exciting. And another one we recognize many of the students tonight, but the co-op esports team, they came home with the SBC conference as conference champions. So congratulations to all of the students for their performance, hard work, and their success.
Very good. And on Wednesday, we celebrate Administrative Assistant Day. We thank every one of our secretaries and assistants for all their hard work, keeping things organized and running smoothly across the district. The board sends a special thank you to our secretary, Ursula. Her organization and discipline are so crucial to keeping everything neat and on time.
Do you want a chocolate cake delivered Wednesday or something?
What's next thing?
And that concludes the superintendent's comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Calgatti. We'll move to 7.2, our student ambassadors report.
Hello, everybody. I'll first start off with a little bit that Isabel wrote for today. She said, first, I would like to apologize for my absence. Today is the first night of Passover, a very important Jewish holiday celebrating the Jewish exodus from Egypt. And I am at home having a small Seder with my family. Happy Passover to all who celebrate. We wish Isabel well tonight. And as we move on, since our last board meeting together, the SSAC got to work on our presentation to the Superintendent Advisory Group. Our presentation focused on the data that was found through the Innovate K-12 disaggregation of our surveys that we shared with you a couple of weeks ago. We were able to have conversations with educators, administrators, and community members about our survey data and what we can do going forward to improve and build student-teacher relationships. So I'll start with the piece that Isabel's group took part in. She said, our group focused on the generation gap between educators and students and the possible misunderstandings that can occur because of that. Okay. Hear me better now? There we go. She said, many teachers cited phones as a source of disrespect, but after further examination, we realized that sometimes it is not the full intention of students to be disrespectful. Although student phone use is, of course, an issue and must be addressed, much student phone use is a result of wanting to escape reality and to avoid life stresses, along with the feeling of dependence on their cell phones. Many teachers, especially of older generations, see the phone as a personal insult, but instead, sometimes it can be that generation gap in there as well. This is one thing that we would like to work on tackling as we move on with the SSAC, that generational piece of students being kind of dependent on their phones and escaping it as a way to deal with stress and how we can tackle that. The SSAC overall divided into small groups to address our different data results. My group was focused on the workload and perception of homework. I highlighted back when we presented our data that homework was a big stressor for students. However, our teacher survey identified that most of our teachers assign very little to no homework. Through that research and looking at this issue through the lens of students, we discovered that homework is not necessarily the root of most students' problems. Students are juggling between sports, extracurriculars, work, family obligations, and so much more outside of school hours that maybe that 20-minute homework assignment at the end of the night is just the student's breaking point. It's just the cherry on top. It was also clear through both of our surveys that our teachers are also exhausted and can be overworked. This is a commonality between both our teachers and our students. Finding similarities between our teachers and students within these areas will only further and improve relationships inside of the classroom. Though we will have recommendations for teachers, for students, we identified the need for students to have opportunities to learn how to take the initiative and communication practices with teachers and peers. There could be resources in place for students to better learn how to communicate professionally and effectively with their teachers when they feel overwhelmed. It is also important that we open up and do more with programs like Naviance and showcase opportunities like tutoring, and especially with tutoring, not bringing it down to a level where students feel less than because they're going to tutoring, but promoting it as an opportunity to grow and get better in their academics as well. This can help our students thrive and take ownership of their own success, feeling more comfortable with their teachers as a result. These are skills that, if learned, will help students thrive in the classroom and beyond. We want to thank the Superintendent Advisory Group for the invitation to speak and present some of this important information and data that we collected. So thank you all. I know there was a lot thrown at you, so if you have any questions, I can answer anything for you guys.
I definitely enjoyed, because I was attended and lots of connections. I enjoyed kind of going from table to table. I definitely thought about that, about all of you the other day as myself, a high school teacher, and I'm sitting there and I'm looking at my student in the front, and my student in the front looks like this, right? And so I go over, I get my class settled, and I go over and I have a conversation with my student in front. I said, hey, are you okay? What's going on? And long story short, that student had been working till 1 a.m. the night before, which, just so we're clear, the student is 16 or 17 years old, so that was illegal. What his company was doing, working him until 1 a.m., that's illegal. I believe it was either a Monday or Tuesday night. That's on the rise, and I don't think there's a lot of adults that are aware. However, also, as an educator, I'll be honest, I'm thrust in a situation where if my administrator walks in, there are many times where they're not going to ask me questions they're immediately going to lead to jump to assumptions as well. And what I loved about a lot of this, which has to happen more often, is it allows us to break down many of the assumptions that we're jumping to, and especially like the cell phone piece, right? How many adults are also unknowingly sitting there on their cell phone, right? And what message are they sending unaware? You know, and so it was very eye-opening, and I continue to hope that at some point we're going to have some of the conversations that are being had. I commend you for those conversations. They have to continue. I hope more students have them. I continue to ask adults to please continue to try, at the very least, to hold up a mirror. I guarantee you there are students who are being worked illegally. It is illegal for students to work until 1 o'clock in the morning on a school night. That's illegal. That's against the law. And tragically, if you look at statistics, it's happening more. It's becoming more acceptable. And you have educators who are now thrust in the front lines, and they're being put to task. Why are your students failing? And how am I supposed to solve that piece as an educator? And so, to your point, there's a lot of stress that's going on. And so, thank you for having those conversations. It was just awesome to watch.
What I loved about your presentation, especially at the Superintendent Advisory Group, was bringing that information to the adults that were in the room. First of all, you all did a fantastic job of presenting. That information is eye-opening. I actually was quite surprised. I really thought there was a bigger respect issue than the data really proved out, and that made me very happy. There wasn't just this. Teachers didn't feel so blatantly disrespected like I thought maybe they would. But one of the things it did, and something that a few of us on the board attended when we went to our conference, was about breaking down walls and assumptions, like Jared said. And I think just that dialogue happening was so powerful, and it wouldn't have happened without you, the SSAC. So I really congratulate you on that. I love that you're continuing to break down those walls and bring this and push this information forward, because we wouldn't know otherwise. With regards to cell phones, something that Jared said and that I will also say is, this is a conversation had all the time on boards and administrations and teachers and classrooms, and cell phones or no cell phones. But there are a lot of our high school students that are responsible for their families, for their siblings. And a lot of it is a safety net so that those younger siblings can get a hold of their older siblings. So, we talk a lot, and it's easy to say, well, we're going to ban cell phones in the classroom. It's just not that simple, unfortunately. And I think that a lot of our data really reflects on that. So we have to figure out what the other options are, knowing that for a lot of students and for a lot of parents, that is a key line of communication. So thank you for all you guys did. I'm very proud of you.
Madam President, can I build on that? I just want to say one thing. Luke, as I watched that presentation, and for the public, I was very proud of the research you all did. If you saw this, it was like being in a college class, right? Mm-hmm. But it took me back, and this is some history for you. The weekend before this, I had the chance to attend the American Educational Research Association's conference in Philadelphia. And in the course of this conference, I actually had a chance to attend a presentation by our president, Latana Simulton, who was who was there as part of the district's history in this workshop, which was really about the Great Lakes equity work. And Ms. Simulton spoke to the history of really getting student voice and really building a pathway for student action research. And so I was sitting there watching you, listening to you. It's living, right? Yes. And I want to thank Dr. Waller for really continuing that work that was really seeded 7 years ago, would you say? So now there's a book about this, right? So there's a book that highlights this. And so at this presentation that was attended by somebody from Harvard University, a discussant, and talked about really the way in which that action research is such a powerful tool when we start to think about what are true voices, what are the real voices saying. There are all kinds of assumptions we make in the dialogue, and what you all did is you said you cut through that, and you said, let's get to the real issues on the table. Let's find a way to bridge those voices. And I had to not skip over this, but to really say thank you to you, but also I think it's an opportunity for the board to, and for all of us to really thank you, Latanya Simulton, for your leadership and really lifting this research back when it wasn't so popular around here.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thank
And
you,
it was
Lou.
very proud moment.
All right, we're moving on to 7.3, board committee reports. We'll start with equity and teaching and learning.
We just had the presentation.
Didn't we? Didn't we,
That's
though?
outstanding, yes.
You just did it.
Okay, are we moving on?
It was the SEL.
Yeah.
Okay, policy and legislative.
At our recent policy and legislative committee, we spent most of the time just reviewing policies from press that will be coming forward in the future, and we got through, I think, all of them. So that's what we did, and I think we're we're gonna meet. Forget when. Thank you, May 1st, and hopefully circle back to legislative stuff and try and figure out a vision for what that work will look like for us in the future.
Very good.
Just that we didn't have time. Like, we didn't have time to get to legislative things, and there's a lot of legislative stuff going on. So we added a meeting. We have an extra meeting, as you alluded to, May 1st, and we'll dedicate that to the legislative piece. There's a lot going on right now. There was a call to action by IASB about the bill. It's a very controversial bill. I have very mixed emotions about it, so I didn't feel, I'll be honest, I didn't feel one way or the other as far as getting involved. And the call to action was in regards to the mandatory 45 minutes of uninterrupted planning time. Thank you. And listen, from a purely financial standpoint, it would be interesting from a district standpoint to provide that. However, the fact that that's not provided for teachers, that's also, will tell you as an educator, that's a problem with the system, right? That's something that every educator should have, and the fact that every educator doesn't have it. So yeah, like there's a conversation there for sure. I don't know the state mandating it is the solution. However, there are conversations to be had about the system that we have. And so we didn't get to that conversation, and I'm sure we'll get to that conversation unless the bill is gone by the time we meet.
Okay.
I have a question for the Policy and Legislation Committee. Last week at Trauber, there was a really powerful presentation on teens and tech. And a lot of things were discussed, and it really was very powerful. I don't know if it was recorded or anything, but it would be great for a lot of people to see. But one question I do have is that AI is becoming very prevalent, and a lot of school districts are putting a policy in place for the use of AI. Is it something that we've discussed yet? Dr. Kincaid, is it anything that IASB has brought up or is on their forefront?
So there has been definitely discussion statewide. I know Mr. Arnson has also had discussion with both high schools. So it is definitely on the forefront, discussing not only with teachers, department chairs, administrators, and I do anticipate more further progress in the next couple months.
Thank you. All right, 7.4, board member comments. Any board member comments?
I actually have a couple this time. Yeah. So visited the Wheatlands. What was it? 2 weeks? Friday. Thank you. It's been a few weeks. I'm telling you, people. So last Friday, the Wheatlands. It was great. I'm definitely somebody. I walk in the building, and there's just the nuances are the things I noticed. So I noticed I call it the montage to one of our building maintenance people, which I loved, over on the top floor. That was pretty awesome to see, to say the least. The libraries, I'm always impressed with our libraries when I walk into our buildings, which is great. I had to say hi to one of my oldest son's former teachers when she
teacher, right?
yes at no, it wasn't kindergarten. I think it was second grade. She was at Long Beach, so that's always nice to run into them as well. But great school, great community. Saw obviously a few parents on my way out. That was awesome. And then Saturday I was able to attend Matilda over at OHS. Wow, that was incredible. There's some talent up on that stage, to say the least. So ran into Luke. Luke was doing a great job of selling refreshments. Great job, Luke.
Yes.
So, yes.
Okay. Anyone else want to say anything?
I also attended Matilda. Wow, I just have to say wow, wow, and wow. First of all, it was incredibly long. Second of all, it was in British. I mean, they all had British accents, which for an entire cast to pull off is amazing. And something that we were talking about before the meeting is that 4 of the leads are freshmen.
Wow.
And so our future looks really, really bright. And I'm getting goosebumps. And then I just have to say a special shout. I got to meet the director, Katie, and I want to say congratulations to the orchestra. Wow. I went and actually during intermission just said hello to the pit because the music was beautiful. And to a very special shout out to Natalie Meldon, who is the president of Bionic, who played Mrs. Wormwood. When you know a student and then you see them in a completely different capacity, you are blown away. And I had no idea that was Natalie. And then the lead, Matilda, Gabriella Spiviri, I've watched her grow up. She is a Hunt Club student, and it's just amazing. You watch these students grow up, and you just never realize that they're going to absolutely blow your socks off. Secondly, I also had the chance, not very long, but I stopped over at OE to the OE College and Career Fair. And if you don't know Joy Gatz, yes, I'm going to get a little emotional. If you haven't met the incomparable Joy Gatz, I encourage you to do so. She is truly one of the most amazing human beings that I've ever met, and I was so sad that Hunt Club lost her, but now she's over at OE living her dream, helping students prepare for the college and their careers and trade. And she put together a beautiful and inclusive showcase of not only colleges, but trades, military, and employers that are looking to hire 2024 graduates. But she also went around to all of our surrounding communities and invited them as well. So if you were students from Yorkville and Plainfield and our surrounding, and I just thought that was beautiful. So if you don't get a chance, stop in Student Services and say hi to her. She truly is just a gem in this community, and it was really cool to see all those different representations of what the pathways that students can take. So congratulations to that entire team of putting that together.
Say something? I will say something. Like Luke just brought me to tears because Luke just demonstrated this student-led data collection process that we call YPAR. And in 2017, we started on this journey with student voice, with students just wanting to be heard. Like, they were telling us that we were losing their confidence because they were sharing information with us in all of these different ways in which we collect data from students, but they said it wasn't showing up in their experience. So we started a cohort of students, and then we took them through this framework in which we were building their capacity to be student ambassadors, exactly what Luke is. So we've come full circle now from students who we were just wanting to hear from them. They were telling us that they didn't just want to be consumers of the decisions that adults were making for them, but they wanted to be partners and collaborators in their lived experience. So now here we are, where Luke and Isabella and all of our other student ambassadors and student voice participants in whatever entity that they live, whether it's Amplify or all of these other student groups, and we're hearing from them. They are now influencing policy and being agents of the change that they want to see happen. And so for me, I was given the opportunity to present before the American Educational Research Association. They're one of the largest conferences in the world. There were like 15 to 20,000 professionals as their PhDs. These are all like research individuals who provide theory on how school is taught. And we had a organization called the MAP Center, which we've been partners with for 7 years about, and they have a theory on how they want equity to show up in schools. And so we were identified. They have 13 states in which this particular MAP Center works with, and they chose us to say, we want what you've been doing in your district and the technical assistance that they've been giving us over all of these years. We want you to come and show all these 15,000 people what this looks like. Because theory is one thing, right? But to actually show them how it shows up in our school. And so, Luke, I just thank you for today. And it's a beautiful thing, isn't it? So thank you. And thank you for all of you who supported it, because YPAR is student-led, but it's supported by adults. And sometimes adults, you know, need to resist the need to take the lead and be the supportive individuals that they need to be. And it's showing up in so many different ways. Thank you all for the work that you've done. And Yvette Dubiel is in the audience, and in 2017, she came to our district because she was working in the equity space, and she showed us a lot of these resources. And we, you know, this is one of the things that I can tip my hat to you for, so thank you for that. All right, we're moving on. All right, 8.1, consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve all items under consent, including 8.1 minutes from the Board of Education meeting on April 8, 2024, open and closed session, and 8.2 to acknowledge the FOIA request received by the district.
Second.
Are there any questions on the consent agenda? Can I have a motion?
Mr. Gatewood?
Aye.
Dr. Murillo?
Aye.
Ms. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Cerrone?
Aye.
Ms. Simulton?
Aye.
Mr. Fulger?
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. We are now moving on to 9.1.
Okay. I want to invite Mr. Obafemi to speak to the request for proposal for.
Thank you. Since September of last year, we started a process of replacing the current food service management company. And the way to do that is to do an RFP. We did an RFP. We sent it out to a number of food service management company. And I believe we received about 12 bids. Of those 12 bids, we work in conjunction with the Illinois State Board of Education, Nutritional Service Department, and we used the rubric that was recommended by them. The process is very complicated. We have to get approval from the state before we can even do the RFP. So of the submittal that we got 3 bids that really qualified for the essence of what we were looking for. And those were submitted by Organic Life, Quest Food, and Airmac, our current vendor. And as part of the process, we did food tasting. And the first round was done by adult, and I believe a couple of the board members here was some of the food testers. And we came up with a score. And after reflecting on that, we decided that we should probably include our customers, who are the ones who spend most of their time eating the food. Yes. So we developed a more kid-friendly rubric that we use. And after that process, it was clear that our current company is going to be the new company. So the letter of recommendation that you have in the package is to award the winning bid to Aramac. Aramac has been in the district for about 30-some years. I know since I've been in the district over a short period of time, that was something that I've heard consistently from our customers, our students, about the need to change food provider. And after it's all said and done, and we find ourselves finding out that Aramac is the winning bidder, we had a meeting in the business office with Aramac where we shared the finding of the RFP with them, and we said we needed to come up with a better way of getting immediate customer feedback, so that if there are things that our students do not like, we have to come up with a way that we can provide feedback to them, and they can change the offerings and the process of the food that they serve. And they agree with that. And we've asked them to join us here tonight and to offer the board an opportunity to ask questions and for them to be able to provide answers to those questions.
Welcome.
Raphael, I would really like to see the information that was collected. I have to be very honest. It's been years. It was one of the first things that was brought to my attention. I've obviously pushed for this review personally as one person on the board. I also was a part of the taste test, and I really would like to see what the rest of the remarks were and the rest of the scores were, because the difference in taste and options are great. And so I also want to know why we are not going, I know we don't have to, but why we are not going with the lowest bid.
The reason why the difference between all three bidders was very negligible as far as dollar-wise. So which was the reason why we decided to do a second taste test. In the first test that we did, the tasting was done mainly by adult. And we know that I was one of the testers. And I know I don't ordinarily eat the food daily the way our customers do. Our customers are the students.
Totally
from,
agree. It should have been
from
all
12
students.
all the way down.
But I would really like to see that stuff, that information, what that looked like, because I'm very surprised by this. The difference in taste was night and day with.
We can bring that.
We
We can
have-
bring
we
the
have-
process. I think it's important to know that it was a very objective process that brought in very clear indices, and so. But I do think that we can provide that. We'll provide that.
We had questions on our rubric. We had to go through our rubric because it wasn't laid out very well. So we had to, before we even got started. I just want to see the process. I'm very surprised by the results, to be honest. So I would just like that to be made available to the board.
Sure.
Absolutely.
I was surprised by it too, because I was sure we were going to move away, but the kids make the decision. And the rubric that we decided to develop was something that would be easier for children to be able to use. We had smiley faces. We had one happy face. We had some faces that doesn't even show any emotion, and then we have a sad face. And we were dealing with children. We actually had a representation of children from different age groups because we wanted them to be able to have an opportunity to provide feedback. And we got them in a room, and we have them try different food, and without doubt, they all coalesce against the menu that was provided by Aramac.
Thank you for joining us this evening. You've heard some of the feedback, right? So we know that you had this meeting with Mr. Obafemi. I think in terms of you introduce yourselves, and then of course, I think it's important to reflect on the journey and what you've learned as you've heard the feedback from our students, but also as Mr. Obafemi shared with you as he sat down with you to think about the changes that were expected.
Yeah, absolutely. Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Yes. My name is Gina Ratnayaka, and I am the Regional Vice President from Aramark, supporting the state of Illinois. what that means is my role really helps enable the work that goes on every day here. And next to me, I have your district manager, Megan Nunn. So she is part of the team that supports Patty, Alex Koss, your on-site GM, your 2 chefs, and your assistant food service director here in Oswego. To start, I think, Madam President, you said something when you were speaking just a minute ago. You talked about how we can't ask students to be the consumers of decisions that adults make. And I think that's at the heart of what we're proposing in our journey that we're going to evolve on together. Each contract that in the life cycle that we've gone through with Aramark had different constraints, and they were period in time constraints with those. So we've taken that approach as we've heard the feedback of our current perceptions of our program, the quality of what students are receiving today. And as we considered what we were doing moving forward, we really had that in mind. So we don't beg to have all the answers at this moment for the students. We know that engaging the students between now and the end of the school year to ensure that the menus are reflective of what students want, and then during the school year moving forward, they're continually reflective of student feedback and changes that impact and are meaningful based on what students are saying. We absolutely know as an organization, first and foremost, we want to come with insights, which is from students, and take a culinary approach in delivering that. And we know based on what we've heard that we have some opportunity here. We need to do a better job of engaging your students, but we absolutely know that we can deliver and we will deliver a different level of service and quality in the years to come for your students.
So,
and in recognition too of the point that the feedback that I received before we did the RFP and the point that was just made by Ms. Johnson, what we are recommending for the board to sign with Aramark, which we had the conversation with them, we're just going to do a 2-year contract instead of a longer term contract, which would be a way for us to say, you know, show me. They've been here for 30-something years. The contract is going to be for 2 years, and I think it has the potential of keeping everyone on their toes as far as making sure that the quality of the food, the services that our customers, our students get, continue to be what they desire, what they deserve, and the best that they have a right to expect.
I would just like to add a little bit. So over the last year, Illinois has taken a change in their stance on food service. You know, in the past, it's always been low bid, right? So the quality of that program is just what that program drives, is that low bid, a value meal when you go to a fast food place. It doesn't give you the quality that your district wants and deserves. So now that Illinois has taken that change in their process, we are able to retain your business and give a better quality versus just retaining your business purely being off the cheapest price. So we're excited for this change, and we hope to show you by the district investing in us and the belief of us that we will deliver on the results that you're looking for your students. We have a great program that we're already starting up. We've already started sampling your students currently the new products that we're going to bring in next year to show them that it's going to be different and better for them.
I have heard that, so I do appreciate that. So this is, you know, kind of logistics, availability. So availability, some of the things I hear is availability throughout the day becomes less throughout the day. So some items that might be more popular or even some items that might be catered to fewer students are gone, you know, by the end of that day, forcing them to resort to their fifth choice. So what are you going to do to kind of ensure that there's that availability amongst periods and amongst the schools?
Yes.
So every school has.
That's a good question.
That's an excellent question.
Options, quality, and availability.
Yeah, so thank you very much for that question. I think a good strategy to start with is really developing some kind of communication plan, whether that's with Patty and the principals. Maybe we get into a cadence of meetings to make sure that we're delivering on the things that we do. We track that in the systems that we use. So maybe that's a training piece in our staff that we need to communicate with that. But we can absolutely look into those, and if there are concerns, we can address them and make sure that we are developing them.
Yeah, because, special diets,
Yeah.
and they just don't have anything.
Yeah, so, well, special diets, well, I'll take that
I mean,
in a,
That's kind of a subset
yes,
of that question.
yes, absolutely. But I think it all goes to communication and ensuring that all stakeholders know who to go to bring forth a concern or a need. But specific to your question on,
I would look for you to be proactive.
right.
If you've
So-
got that data.
Yeah. So specific to proactivity, that's where I was going and follow up to what Megan said.
Okay.
One of the tenets of what we've proposed for this coming contract is our Student Nutrition 360 Insights. A piece of that is a pulse survey. So at the secondary levels where students have technology available to them at lunch, we have QR code surveys that are real time where students can provide feedback. In addition to that, the proactive piece is the staff training and our team being able to, what I call manage by walking around, being out in schools and seeing what's happening, just like we expect all of our campus leaders to be present, helps us ensure that the service that we expect for our students has been delivered.
One other follow-up to that, in the routing, the logistics side of what Dominic is saying, do you also proactively, well, different question, do you commonly use the same route when you're dropping the food off? If so, therefore, in the logistics and availability, it seems to impact the same schools every single time. So is that something that you track as far in regards to availability and quality when schools are being delivered to?
So all of your schools are on-site production. So it's not a satellite program. So it should be a scenario that they should have the product on hand. Yeah, it's just prepared on site.
I'll give a very specific example that I think Mr. Gatewood might be referring to. It was brought to our attention by some teachers in one of our schools that she resided in another part of our district and her son went to another school, but she taught at the school, at a different school, that what her son was getting and so this is elementary, the menu is the same across the board, but if it said corn dog, then they didn't have enough corn dogs in every school, so some kids would not get what they thought they were going to get on the menu. So what we want to make sure is that, and can you tell us what the process is for making sure that if everybody wants a corn dog in elementary, that they're going to get it? And this is really important to us from an equity issue because a lot of students are relying on that, and it's probably and could potentially be their biggest and best meal of the day. But we have seen a lot of instances when that hasn't happened. There's been discrepancies. It could be ordering, could be communication, but what can we do moving forward to make sure that that doesn't happen?
So I'll take that, Jen. Each school orders separately for themselves, and depending upon their delivery dates, there may be outages at the Cisco house. So that school needs to communicate to us where we can find the product for them. So the elementary schools, for example, get a count. The students will choose their entrees in the morning, and they're sent down to the staff in the cafeteria. They'll do a tally, and they'll cook over, and they'll make a little extra padding there to ensure that there's enough for the students. Those leads at the school should be communicating to myself and my team if they do not have enough product on hand, and we can pull it from another school that wouldn't be using it. So that would be a communication piece, and I would need to know that from the staff. I have started sending out principal surveys so that we can start opening some discussions where we're lacking in that, and that where I need to know that. So,
but are those are your staff, correct?
That would be our staff. So if there's not enough product on site, we need to know that so we can get the product to them to ensure
So what are
that
you
those
doing
students.
to train then the staff?
Correct.
Because this seems like an Aramark issue. So how is that? What is changing to ensure that?
The communication so that we know that those things are occurring. We do have the production records that will
ensure that they have enough on hand. So we're doing the training pieces on, we've had several new staff members. So ensuring that the training is done properly and consistently. So we're including our lead meetings with the staff and doing those training pieces on the system so that we don't have any lapses on that types of information
A
there.
couple of other things too that we're doing differently this time. When we met, I think a couple of weeks ago, we're going to be having a standing meeting that we're going to have periodically. Myself and the VP from Airmac will be meeting periodically, where we provide feedback on the experiences that we have in our building. I'm truly one who believe that you get what you expect.
Yes.
If we're not really paying attention to the level of service that we are getting, we would not know how well the vendor is doing. That's number one. Number two, we also are committed to doing survey, where we survey the school, we survey the administrator, where they provide us feedback on the level of services that they're getting. They're the frontline folks. And we also will do survey with our students too. So they let us know how well they like the food. So we're doing things differently than we've done it before. Whereas before, there was a level of apathy in the way we partner with Aramac. We're not going to do that anymore. We made the decision based on the fact that it submitted the best bid, but we're not stopping there. What we are doing is we're going to make sure that we have standing meeting where any issues that comes up, we resolve it right away. We don't let it become a serious problem. We will be doing survey with our building administrators and folks who have responsibility for making sure that our kids get fed well. And the third part of it is we're going to make sure we do periodic survey with our users, our customers, where they give us real life feedback. Do you like the food that you're getting? What don't you like about the food that you're getting? We are going to do those three things. And I think those will make a difference in the quality of service and the food that we get, which we hadn't done before.
I think an important point here is that we've lifted a process. The vendor that rose was Aramark. We are going to honor that process, but as Mr. Obafemi shared, this will be under continual review and reflection. And next time, please bring corn dogs for this presentation. We would definitely appreciate that.
So incentives, like, you know, when someone has had an experience and it's not been a very enjoyable one, they don't want to come back to it, right?
Yes.
And so we have all these students who've not had a very enjoyable experience, and I wonder if they're willing to come back to it. So how do you incentivize a student who has had these experiences and who are very skeptical of what we're selling?
Better food, better services. And they are right in what they said. The state of Illinois changed the FMCS process. It used to be before you can only select the lowest bidder. So now if you think about it, if you have a vendor who's promising to provide you lunch at 99 cents a day, and that's all they have, and they have to provide that and make profit off of that, there's a limit to how well the quality of the food they can provide you. We have to be honest with that. Now the state of Illinois has changed the process now, where we necessarily don't have to take the lowest bidder. We take the organization that is well positioned, that's got a better quality of food for our students, and those are the variables that I think are important for us. So I think what we have to do is we talk to them about doing a conscious campaign, letting our customer know that things are going to be different. Rebranding.
Good.
Rebranding, better food, better customer service, survey that is going to keep them honest. If they don't like Luke, if Luke doesn't like the food that he gets in his school, he's going to get a survey. Luke is going to let us know in real time. And we'll have since we have a standing meeting with Aramac, we'll let Aramac know it, and we'll let him have it.
I just appreciate you saying that there was a level of apathy. I think that's really important to be able to say that and be vulnerable and honor that. So thank you for that. And to Mrs. Simulton's point, I'm just from a very, very myopic perspective. My son had 2 meals, first grade, and we still have the same money from our Pushcoin account when he started junior high. He never touched it again. So it's that, but also, and with all due respect, I've been in food service for 20 years. I work at the Google Food Program, so We really believe that food is the energy for the body. It's how you make decisions. It's how you shoot what we call your moon shots. And it's just really important that, I mean, Aramark's in the business of making money, period. Like, I get it. But what we're doing here is making sure that the quality is consistent from the start of school to the end of school and from the start of the day to the end of the day. So we appreciate whatever help you're going to do to get us there.
Yeah, absolutely. You have my attention, and you have our attention, and we had it several weeks ago when we had a conversation, and some of the concerns that you all have also brought to light tonight were brought forward, and we are taking a new approach. And so the program that we're bringing forth will have a new approach. And we know, to the point of some students have not had a great experience, we have to win them back. So we'll have to take an approach of repositioning and rebranding ourselves within the school district to show the students that this is not the program they had yesterday.
Yeah. Well, and also, frankly, on our side, students, especially in elementary, are picking like a red popsicle stick, a green popsicle stick, or a blue popsicle stick that matches whatever their meal is. And so I think we have to look at that from our side, and I'm just giving an example, but you know, how they're picking, and they're like, here, I want the red popsicle stick today, but they might not have matched it correctly to the corn dog. I mean, there's lots of issues, but we have to look at things on our side too. But thank you for hearing us.
One other question in regards to selection for the students. Are they limited in their choices, or will they be limited in their choices? I can't remember. I'm a year removed from it, but I remember my son saying, I can't get that. So it was like, oh, I couldn't get that because I don't know what it was. And so I'm just wondering, the selections, will they have options? Or even if he would come home and say, I'm still hungry. And I was like, well, you had money. Why didn't you buy? Or I couldn't do that. And so I'm just trying to, again, that's a very anecdotal solution, but I know I said that all the time because he would consume our entire refrigerator when he got home.
Yeah, you know, I would love to understand from your son that issue in a deeper, from a deeper perspective. I have 3 school-age children. I have a 12-year-old girl and 2 boys that are 9 and 8. And these are similar conversations. I think it's a coaching conversation always with children about choices and what they should take at lunch. And I was actually looking at my kids' lunch account and noticing they're buying a lot of chips with their school meal. But point being, I think what we can do better together, like Raphael said, is collaborate to impact the program in a very positive way. And we are committed to doing that with you as your provider.
Yeah, it wasn't an easy decision to make, but we believe it's the right decision. We didn't want to make change just for change's sake. I mean, the easiest thing for us to say is, regardless of the input that we got from our customers, our kids, we're now going to pick Aramark. That will make everyone happy. Because I said to them, we had a really frank conversation when we met in my office. I said to them from the day I walked in here, and every day I walk into buildings, that's one of the conversations I'm having. When are you going to change Aramark? And we went through the process the way it was laid out. And we got the result that we got. We could have chickened out and said, you know what, we're gonna roll the dice and just throw away the process because this is the outcome. That's not the outcome that we wanted. But we have to believe the system that we put in place is the right process to select the best vendor. And we believe that in this particular case, Aramark is the best vendor. But there are things that we can do on our part to enhance the process. And we're committed to doing that. And we talked about all the things that we're going to do. And we're going to make sure we hold our end of the bargain, and we expect them to do the same thing. Because as you mentioned earlier, they're business. They want to be successful because this is a big chunk of their business. And they know we're watching. Not only are we watching, the whole community is watching. This is their second chance to get it right.
Thank you, Mr. Olufemi.
And I will add this, like, listen, I do think there is such thing as student voice, and student voice is important. However, I'm going to say this. While I have a 17-year-old at home, I also have a 24-year-old at home with the 17-year-old. And what's great about having the 24-year-old at home is even though the 17-year-old has student voice and talks about his food choices, the beautiful thing is the 24-year-old will tell the 17-year-old that he's kind of full of it on some of his opinions. And I'm just saying that with a grain of salt because, like, some of the decisions he's making aren't the greatest decisions when it comes to food. I'm just saying, like there is a limit on some of this. And listen, my 17-year-old has complained about the food as well. However, he has also acknowledged that my son had a milk allergy, and when he was in elementary school, he has acknowledged they worked beautifully with him, and he never had an issue once. So I also had another parent who last year whose son, they wanted to know how they could shut off the account because their kid was buying so much food. So there are kind of some like hits and misses and so forth. And I think yes, I think we all want to see more consistency.
But I think that's probably what Micah's talking about is we get a charge every day and it's whatever the meal is for the day, $3.55, and then there's chips, and then there's a Rice Krispie treat, and then there's a cookie, and so I think that's what it is. I think it's they're given their meal, but they either want more or they want the snack.
But again, I think that's a different conversation.
Correct.
If they're having a Rice Krispie treat and a flaming hot Cheeto,
Yep.
and then they're complaining about the food.
Yep.
Thank you, Raphael.
You know.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We would love to turn that account off. It's out of control.
Okay. Oh, this is you? Oh, this is you, okay.
Okay, 9.2, stormwater easement for Wolf's Crossing and Bernardston Schools. Mr. Obafemi?
So back in 2001, when Wolf Crossing and Bernardston schools were constructed, there was no stormwater drainage there to take our stormwater from those buildings to discharge it. And what happened is the school district used property that was available and converted that to stormwater drainage. Now, that property is now being acquired in addition to some adjoining property by Polche, the developer. And Polche is requesting that as part of their construction, they will build a stormwater discharge that will replace the one that we kind of put together. There's no cost to the district, and the cost of it will be borne by Polche exclusively. All they're asking for is easement from us that will allow them to be able to do that. And an IGA has been included in there. I'm sorry, the easement release agreement has been included. And the district attorney, Stu Witt, has reviewed it and is in agreement with the terms of that. Doesn't cost us anything. It's just going to make it better.
I have one concern about this. Having lived over there, right, and there was nothing there, right? I always laugh. Listen, as somebody who grew up in the area, goes back, I'm not going to lie, I chuckle when people complain about certain things around here, because I got news for you. We all lived in a field at one point, because all of this was field, right? So I got news for you. There was nothing over there when there was built, right? So my one concern is I watched as Lakewood Valley was built, and Lakewood Valley took care of all of the, how this was going to drain and everything. And I watched this house across from Lakewood Valley have to pump water out continuously, and eventually the house was abandoned, and they're like, we're out of here, right? Because basically what Lakewood Valley did was the water was just getting pumped into this person's yard across the street. So my one concern about this is, how are we going to make sure that Pulte doesn't just pump the water into us? Like, that's the one. I love all of how this sounds, as long as the water isn't just getting pumped into our baseball field or our causeway or anything else. Do we have an architect?
We have a civil engineer who's actually looked at the plan and has put a seal of approval on it, AmeriCorps. So that's really what we have to rely on the expertise of civil engineer
Can
That
we-
is their area of expertise.
Yeah, I didn't see a diagram, or I was looking for it, because I was thinking easement, are they just digging to run it somewhere, or are they actually gonna, put a trench where it runs? I was just looking for the pictures, I didn't see any.
Now, I can request a copy of the engineering study from AmeriCorps, and I can provide it at the next meeting before approval on May 6th. But he did his due diligence, and he agreed with the proposed solution for the stormwater discharge.
Yeah, theoretically, they're supposed to make the situation always better than it was previously, but.
Yeah, and I agree. I just want to see
and
it.
if it's an engineer working on our behalf, then that's.
100%, but I just want to see it. Because right now we don't know where they're routing it to. It just says routing it, efficiently, or so I just want to see it, and then I'll be good.
I just figured I had a lot of the conversations.
No, I agree.
I'm just telling you, I get it, but I watched
So there's,
somebody in.
I'm sorry, I just spoke to Mr. Queen here. Mr. Queen, speak out, please.
Yeah, so what they're going to do is they're going to tie into an adjacent drain. So it's not just going into a field or into somebody's house. It's getting tied into another adjacent drain.
That clarifies. That was great. That's great. Okay.
Okay, next we have 9.3, intergovernmental agreement with the Village of Oswego and others, as well as a capital facility development impact fees update. Mr. Obafemi.
So the Village of Oswego has revised the impact fee process, the way of divvying up the impact fees since 2015. And it wasn't that important back when construction was in the doldrum, but things are beginning to pick back up right now. And the village called together all the taxing bodies and wanted to get our input as far as hiring a consulting firm. So an RFP was done, and the winning firm was DTA. And DTA is doing a study to try to figure out what the new process of the impact fee will be. And what they would like to do is for the board to approve the IGA that all the taxing bodies are signing, authorizing DTA to do the study required to update the impact fee process.
Can you describe, this is standard practice to have a third-party entity
Yes.
develop this versus
Yes.
an individual? I think
Yes.
in our conversations with the village board, we heard that historically, it's a good way to collectively hire somebody so it doesn't become a biased process.
Yes.
And so this is, we want to thank our village partners for really bringing this to us. Raphael, do you want to speak to that?
Yes.
And you don't want to be sued. That's right.
It's an independent entity, too, that's done this all over the country, really. And the significant importance of what Dr. Kelgadi mentioned is an arm's length deal. So they have no skin in the game, if you will. They will use data. They will use past experience with the current way of distributing impact fee in making recommendation as to how we should move forward.
I have a question regarding the cost that's outlined. I don't see a
Yeah, I
cost
don't see a
outline, I just see the percentage. So do you know, for example, it says the Village of Oswego is going to pay 48.46% of the total project. We're going to pay 38.02.
Yeah.
What is the number of, how much does this cost?
They will have to wait until, let me see, I think I have an RFP here.
I mean, we don't have to sign this before, this is just information.
Yes,
until
this
we
is
have the cost,
information.
right?
Yes, it is. Just
Yeah, I at least need to know.
And what is how did the
Yeah, a range.
percentages get broken down because of how much, where the taxes go to? Okay.
We are the 800-pound gorilla in the village. So, yeah. I can bring that information at the next time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, thank you, Mr. Obafemi. We have Mr. Artson regarding the American Sign Language resource proposal. There are some adjustments here, board, so Mr. Artson is going to speak to some of the requests that's come in for this matter.
Yeah, thank you, board, and I'm going to bring up a couple people with me here who've been a pretty pivotal role.
Welcome, please.
There we go. I'm all over the place. Uh-oh. Thank you. And I'll let them introduce themselves, but I'll go through with the presentation, but I want to make sure that we're introducing and giving credit where credit is due for this too. So go ahead.
I'm Holly Fournier. I'm the Department Chair of World Language at Oswego High School.
Welcome.
Michelle Sternad. I'm a deaf and hard of hearing teacher at Prairie Point.
Okay, welcome.
Okay, and as we go forward with this proposal, it would be nice if I could do that. You know, one of the things we look at for any sort of new resource proposal is what's the need for it. And of course, as you know, we proposed the course proposal for ASL this last fall, and we then will, of course, need a resource for that. So this begins on school year 25. One of the things we like to do with this, too, is make a collaborative decision based on SD308 criteria. When we look at the SD308 criteria, a couple of things I want to make sure that everyone's tracking up on here is the standards that we're using are not exactly state standards, and that's because ASL doesn't have state standards for us. We will follow the guidelines of ACTFL,
The actual guidelines are the Illinois state standard that the state of Illinois uses for world languages. So sign language will fall under that.
Perfect, thank you. And then, of course, we're looking at the district equity statements as well. And what we always look at for any resource is the ease for our special education and multi-language learners. A couple other things I want to highlight on here, too, is the technology and the digital availability of the resource, and then student and teacher-friendly additions. It's really important for us to have additions of any resource that teachers and students feel comfortable using. And we feel the resource that we've selected absolutely provides those. As we look at the resource selection team members, of course, we have the two up here. Then Kurt Goldbrough couldn't be here tonight. He's the Oswego East World Language Department Chair. And we've had many other people involved in this process as well. But when it came to really getting in the weeds with the resource, these are the three members I want to highlight. The ASL resources that we also considered, Signing Naturally levels 1 through 4 and Master ASL. And if you recall from our fall presentation, when we looked at the course proposal itself, the Master ASL was actually the resource we thought we were going to go with. As we kind of looked out through other resources throughout the area and started really getting into the details with this, we actually determined that these weren't the best resources for us. And the resource we selected, based on our guidelines, was actually the True Way ASL, and this is a completely digital resource for students and teachers. And you can see some highlights of the resource there too. Of course, you're looking at ISBN numbers, things like that. But really, we're getting some added bonuses with this resource as well. And again, this is a full digital resource for teachers and students. Some of the reasons we chose to select this resource, there's lots of things that we do within world language, and when we get to the Q&A section, I think Holly can add to some of these, but it's really in-depth coverage of the deaf culture and really gets into the grammatical aspects of ASL beginning early in the resource, which really integrates well into our world language systems of how we operate every other world language. The next steps for this resource, of course, we're doing a presentation tonight for information. The resource will be available tomorrow at the district office, and this is digital access. So there is a general username and password for this resource that we can provide to anyone who wants to view the resource. We have that available at the district office. The next time, and that of course will be available for 30 days. At the June 3rd board meeting, this will be an action item, and then if this is approved, we'd like to complete the purchase as soon as possible because it gives our teachers an opportunity to use the resource while working with the curriculum. As we look at the cost of the resource, it is $40 per license. We said by 350 student licenses. There's actually 343 students between Oswego High School and Oswego East High School that are registered to take the course next year. So that'll give us a total of $14,000 for next school year. Again, these digital licenses can be used once, so we will have to purchase these year after year. But the $25 course fee will offset some of that cost as well. what questions do you have for us regarding the resource?
Quick, just the math. You said you excuse me, you have 343 students, but you're ordering 350 is what
Yeah,
you're saying.
we'll purchase additional licenses, which is not abnormal in case we get move-ins or other things happen like that. We'll have a few, and you know, if for whatever reason between now and the end or the beginning of the school year, it swells to 360 even for whatever, purchasing 10 licenses at a time is not a big constraint for us. You know, we looked into a multi-year deal for this. There's really not much of a benefit. It was very minimal benefit for us to do a multi-year deal on this. We're opting for a 1-year deal because, quite frankly, this is a brand new course for us. We want to see if this is going to work for us and our needs, and then from there, of course, we can branch out and do the other tiers.
I have one quick noticing and then 2 questions. When I first opened this presentation, just coming from a world language background, the first thing I looked for was the culture component. So I'm glad to see that this has an emphasis on, you know, deaf culture and teaching that, because I think that falls in line also with our diversity, equity, you know, mindset in our district. So thank you for that. Does the resource have 4 levels if we were going to, because I know we have 2 levels on the books. Does this resource have 4 levels? And then my second question is, do we know other districts that are using this?
That it does have a suggested scope and sequence. They have 18 modules, but within those modules are multiple, like 1.1, 1.2. They suggest that it can go for 4 years, a 4-year course sequence.
So is it up to, as you look at the curriculum or what they offer, is it up to you all to decide, whoever's creating the curriculum, decide which modules go in year 1, which modules go in year 2? Because we have a yearly system, obviously, at the high school. Is that a curricular choice then? If they don't have it broken up by levels?
They do.
Oh,
they
do
say
have it
ASL 1 is like units 1 through 5, for
Oh, okay,
example.
okay.
So they have a suggested scope and sequence,
Okay.
but that really is going to depend on the students and what other pieces need to be developed to support it.
And they have a 4-year suggested sequence? Okay. And do we know of any other districts that are using this? Not that that's a plus or a minus, I'm just wondering.
I do know some people who have attended some conferences that have seen the presentation for this curriculum, and they're very excited about it, but they already have their curriculum development, their textbooks and everything invested in. So they're kind of excited to hear about it because it's produced by a deaf company, deaf individuals, but they're not using it yet.
Okay. Thank you.
I just, you know, the fact that it's digital only, I don't know, any concerns? I want to ask.
I personally think the digital option is a great way to go for the first year, just in case. Because if you order a whole set of textbooks and it's really not what you're looking for, you're kind of stuck with those for years. So I think personally, I think the online is a good way to go. And I don't think it's going to be the end-all be-all of the curriculum that we develop. But in looking at it, there are a lot of videos. What caught my attention were the variety of ethnic backgrounds that were in the videos. They were represented. That was so interesting to see just how many different types of backgrounds of people signing for the kids to watch and learn the language. What else do you notice anything else?
Well, definitely just the amount of videos. I mean, it's one thing, it's very hard to look at a paper representation of a sign. But
It
to
seems
see,
to bode well. That's why I'm
Yes.
just kind of seeing what your thoughts are.
It does. But the digital component is, there's so much content with this curriculum compared to the other ones. But I don't quite yet know how that's going to work with being in class. There's so much interaction, signing it with each other, and it's interacting with a screen. I see more as something done outside of school, because really in person you need to be interacting with each other, not with a screen. So I think it's going to be a nice complement to having in-class activities and outside of class activities.
Okay.
Oh yeah, it does. It is.
Yeah, it interacts with Google Classroom as well.
That's good.
Because that was one of the issues with one of the other resources, that it did not interact with Google Classroom. So all these, videos can be assigned through Google Classroom as warm-up activities or something like that. So it works with our interface already.
Does the resource offer assessment pieces as well? Okay.
So,
Thank you.
no, I really wanted to say thank you. This is Faith, Dan, we are almost there. It's been a long time coming, and so this is beautiful, and I cannot wait to move forward. Can I vote today? Yes? No? That's not how it works. Okay.
I will say, I just want to thank not only Holly, but Shelley has put tireless work in from the proposal all the way through this resource selection the entire way. So much of this work you're seeing here is Shelley and a few others, but Shelley's really been the driving force, so I really want to say thank you for Shelley for that.
Thank you.
And your commitment to students, these initiatives are so powerful, and you push forward, and what we look forward to seeing is the successes that it will yield. So thank you so much for your vision.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all. Thank you so much. Next, we have Mr. Obafemi speaking regarding our FY24 budget amendment.
Thank you.
9.5.
So when the fiscal year 24 budget was being prepared before I got here, there were some lines in the budget, administrative costs, that are not allowed to be more than 5% from the prior year actual expenditure. That's just state law. At the time, the district communicated to the state that we will be seeking a waiver based on the fact that we were in the lower 25 percentile of cost. We actually weren't in the lower 25 percentile. So since we weren't in the lower 25 percentile, we have one of two options. We can either go to the legislator and say, legislator, give us a waiver, which will require the vote of all state legislators, or we can do a budget amendment, whereby we reduce the cost in the 6 lines as I referenced in the memo, and we stay below 5%. And so I'm proposing we do that, which is do a budget amendment and reduce those 6 lines to below. Actually, all we needed to do is just reduce 2 lines by 25% each, and then we are in the less than 4%, which will make us compliant with the administrative 5% administrative compliance. So that's what. So we're requesting that we do a budget amendment, and the process for doing a budget amendment is very similar to a regular budget. We bring it before the board today, and then the amended budget for those 2 lines is put on display for 30 days, and then when we come back on June 5th or 6th, the board votes, have a public hearing, and the board votes to approve it, and then the amended budget is provided to the state to show that we're in compliance. I know I said a lot.
Yeah.
Questions?
Yeah, I have like many, but how, when we present future budgets, how do we ensure that line items don't go over 5%?
That is standard practice. When you're doing your budget, you look at those 6 lines, and it gives you a lot of flexibility. You got salaries, you got purchase services, you got supplies, you got benefits. It's all kinds of, all you have to do is make sure that those lines stay well below 5%. I've never, in my years of doing this, I have to do a budget amendment for administrative cost. I've never, because you just know to keep those lines below 5%. And it's not that difficult to do.
Is this because of the raises that were given to, no?
Not really, not really. Because what it is, if you look at the memo, and I'll be very blunt in saying that some of these lines too, we were paying folks out of it we should not have been paying out of it. So what it is, you look at the prior year actual expenditure, you compare it to the next year's budget. And what you have to make sure is the next year budget is no more than 5% of the prior year expenditure. For example, some of the sixth line, executive administration services, the only person that should be paid out of that is the superintendent and its related expenses. We found out that we're paying other people who were not superintendent out of that line in prior years. Another example is special education administration services, same thing. And if you go down to 2510, direction of business support, the only person who is supposed to be paid out of there is the CFO. The CFO actually wasn't getting paid out of that line. CFO was getting paid out of the superintendent's line, executive administration. And there were folks in HR who were being paid out of that line in prior years. So, yeah.
So thank you, Mr. Obafemi. Some of the work board has been improvements that we've taken on through our Infinite Vision. I know I want to thank the Human Resources Department, working with the Finance Department to clean up these lines, to coordinate.
And we've been working on cleaning that up.
So I'm working on it. It's a work in progress. So I'm going to thank you all for that.
But I have
Any
one
other questions?
clarifying question. If that had a bunch of stuff in it and we took it out, how are we over?
No,
it's not.
So that was prior year. So the way it works, it will be in
sorry.
fiscal year 23. Actual expenditure in fiscal year 23 compared to fiscal year 24 budget. So if the fiscal year 23 budget is overstated, then it will impact what was budgeted in the current year. I know if you follow me.
I always forget about fiscal years. That's what it is. But can you, never mind, sorry.
You okay? Yeah. All right.
We're good.
Okay. Next up, we have FY25 tentative budget presentation. Mr. Obafemi, and we want to thank you. Just to lead off, to say thank you. I know last week you invested a lot of time meeting with community members in preparation for this evening. So I will say that thank you to you and your team.
Thank you, Dr. Kilgadi. That is actually my oxygen, the opportunity to engage with community member and to explain to them what makes up the budget and to let them know what makes up the expenditure, what is the source of the revenue, and to really thank them for the fact that, but for them, we will not have a school district. Because the largest source of revenue for the district is local property taxes, which we appreciate. Our community member writing us a check twice a year, once in June, and then again in September. So that was an opportunity to be accountable to them, to explain to them what we do with that money. So the goal of the community workshop was just really to provide information to the community, to provide information about how the tax dollar is being spent. And what I've always said is that the budget is really a moral document that reflects the value, the goal, and the objective of the organization, in this case, our school district. We know there are some legal requirements that we need to have for the budget, but above all, though, it reflects the moral and the value of the board. So the budget also is the source of funding the district priority, the strategic priorities. A couple of things that I pointed out during the presentation is the fact that the budget makes it possible for us to have rigorous curriculum and ambitious instruction, which is what the business that we're in, of educating children. The other part is the opportunity to engage with the community and partner with the community, which is the whole point of doing the community workshop. And lastly, the fiscal and operational responsibility, making sure that the money is well spent, and we explain that to our community members. So this is the budget timeline. And as you see, we start getting off of the budget actually from November till January. We start out by having the board designate someone to prepare the budget. In this case, it's the CFO. And then we get the information about property tax levy. And what drives that is actually the CPIU that is normally released by the Bureau of Labor Statistics for December of the prior year is then used for the levy. February and March, we start distributing information to the cost administrator. Those are the folks in the district who actually spend money. And then we create a budget model. And we do a financial forecast that look at the next 5 years and see what we're doing financially. And we then work to do estimates and projection of our enrollment, which then drives the number of staff that we'll need for the upcoming year. Phase 3 is the tentative budget presentation, which is what I'm doing now, which is part of the community budget presentation that we did last week. And we plan to have this become a tradition in the district where we engage members of the community. And then once it's brought to the board, like I'm doing tonight, then it goes on display for 30 days, after which a final revision can be made, and then the board will approve the budget in June. As you will notice, we're actually doing the budget in June instead of waiting till September. And the reason why we're doing it in June, the fiscal year starts in July. If we have the budget approved by early June, then we can load the budget into the ERP, the financial document, so folks can start buying stuff. What we've done in the past is people will call, I need to buy something for the start of the school year. I don't have a budget loaded. We can't do anything. So what then happens is people start, you give people access to start charging expenditures on a negative budget line, which is not a good budget, business practice. By doing it now, by the time July 1st rolls around, we have the budget loaded. People can start spending July 1st.
Can I interject real quick?
Yes, sir.
Can I say thank you? Because when I first came to the board, and like every year since, I've said this just seems backwards. Like it's like we're rubber stamping the budget, and I've got board members, not anybody up here, I got board members voting no to a levy, and then not even asking for projections on what that would mean. Like, it was like the most, like, it didn't make any sense to me. And I'm like, I don't mind, let's have a conversation about what that looks like. But we weren't even having a conversation about what it looked like. It was so backwards. Like, I had no doubt in my mind that there was validity behind people in the district saying they didn't have faith in this. I agreed. But then the problem was, like, there was no remedy. So thank you, because the whole process to me seemed backwards from day one. So I just want to interject that and say thank you.
Thank you, sir. So as we mentioned during the committee workshop, and we're saying clearly here tonight, the board as well as the administration is committed to transparency, making sure that the committee understands a budgeting process, a levy process, as well as a financial process. Essentially, where we get our money, what we spend our money on, and why we levy them, the amount that we levy them. And the fiscal year budget overview, the critical part of it is that the total budget amount is $300.6 million. And that includes operation as well as non-operational expenditure. And that is an increase of $9.8 million just in the operating fund. Then of that amount, $255.6 is in the operating budget. If you notice, I mentioned 300.6 in the total budget, 255.6 just in the operating budget. And the operating budget covers the day-to-day. The non-operating budget will be things like debt service, the money that we pay to bondholders that we borrow money for, the cost of doing capital projects, that the money comes from the proceeds of bond sales. Those are non-operating. But the operating budget is what we use for day-to-day expenses. And in fiscal year 25, we budget $8.7 million to start tackling some of the capital needs that we have in the district. And the majority of these funds come from proceeds, a budget that we sold. I believe that was sold back in 22, That's the working cash budget that we're going to use to start repairing our buildings. And 36.9 or close to $37 million is debt service to start paying for the debts that we issue. So revenue highlights, property tax, we have a projected increase of close to $7 million in fiscal year 25, which is an increase of 5.8% compared to fiscal year 24. CPPRT, we're projecting that our state's flat. State funding, we only estimating that it will increase by $4 million, even though if you look at the time from 2017 when EBF was instituted, the district has gotten, on average, $7 million a year.
Can I stop us right here?
Yes, sir.
So, and I want to stop because I believe this is an educational moment here. Is it I got two questions. One, is it an oversimplification to look at this and say, so we can look at, obviously it's an estimate, about 5.7 million in increase in revenue if I look at these three things? That's question number one. My second question is ESSER going to affect different districts differently? Because if I'm in a district that doesn't have an increase in EBF, or if I'm in a district that doesn't see an increase in property tax, I'm going to actually get a bigger hit on those ESSER funds. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whereas if you're in a district like ours that does have those property taxes increasing and does have an increase in EBF, we're going to see less of a hit from ESSER funds. And the reason I bring this up is, if that's correct, if what I'm saying is correct, the reason I bring this up is I know that we have a lot of educators in the district, and they might say, well, my district's taking a hit on ESSER funds. The hit on ESSER funds may not look the same from district to district depending on those other two variables. You can correct me wherever I'm wrong.
Absolutely. Now, if you are a district like that, what you need to have done is with ESSER funding, you don't use that for operational. You know it's a short-term infusion of revenue. What you do, you use it for one-time expenditure. Well, if I worked in a district like that, what I would have recommended is you use it for upgrade to your buildings, for example, upgrade to HVAC, things that are directly related to COVID-19 mitigation. Use it to buy things that are directly related to that, so that when the revenue goes, it shouldn't have an impact on your operational funds if it was done correctly. It was a one-time, it was like winning money. It's like a windfall. If you get a windfall, you don't put that windfall into your regular daily living. You use it as a windfall. You use it to pay for things that, but for that windfall, you wouldn't have been able to afford. And you move on with your life because you know it's a one-time windfall.
Is that an oversimplification to look at those and say, oh, okay, we'll see a 5.7 million increase? Or is it more complicated than that?
It's a little more nuanced than that.
Okay, thank you.
Because, so what I was going to say about state funding, we were actually being very conservative with the $4 million that we projected. Because this fiscal year alone, we received an increase of $9 million. And the governor actually is appropriating $350 million, which fully funds EBF. So it's more likely than not that we'll get $7 million, but we're just trying to be conservative, which is what you're supposed to do with revenue. Be conservative with revenue, be aggressive with expenditure. So we only budgeting $4 million.
Perfect. Thank you.
And ESSER fund, as you mentioned earlier, $5.2 million in ESSER fund that we received this year is going bye-bye, which is a decrease of $37 million. 37%, I'm sorry. 5.2 million, down to 37%.
It's all right, I was following you, no worries. I was following you.
It's been a long day. So I don't want to give anyone a heart attack.
Good news is someone just hit backspace on their headline, so you're good.
37%, 5.2 mil.
We only got 12 million. I don't know how we can be out that much.
So these are the staffing changes that we made that are school-based. So if you see at the end of the day, we have an FTE increase of 3.06 of school-based position, okay? And these are driven really by programmatic needs and projected enrollment is what is driving this change. Now, there's a budget additions that are not school-based. They're based in the district office, but it provides support to our schools. We know some of the supports that our school folks needed, we have not always the resources to provide it to them. And we know for any organization to do well, there has to be coordination, there has to be support from managers to help the school-based folks do a better job of providing services. For example, we know not all of our kids are going to go to college. We know a good number of them are going to take on career. Some of them may be pilot, some of them may go into the HVAC business, some of them may be mechanics, plumbers, but we need to start preparing them while they're in school instead of just thinking everybody goes to college. We know everybody doesn't go to college. And we know the folks who do not go to college, if we don't prepare them for anything else, we're not really helping them. They end up getting menial job. But if we start providing support to them right now, we're in a position to help them out. That's one of the reasons why we have the Director of Career and College Pathway. Additionally, we know the one population in the district that seems to be growing is special education. And one of two ways we can look at this, we can pay now, we can pay later. Because we know when a child is entitled to special education, they have an IEP, we have to provide those services to them. If we don't, they'll go get an attorney, or an attorney will solicit them and request a due process. We'll pay the attorney's fee, we'll provide the services that they need, and in some cases, we may also have to compensate the parents. So if we have a coordinated way of doing this, like a director will help the clinicians as well as the folks in the school. Long term, it saves us money. We spend the money up front, but it saves us money long term.
Can I just say in general?
Yes.
It saves us money. If we do what's right, it saves us money in the long term regardless.
Yes, absolutely.
Not just in attorney fees.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Mr. Obafemi, I think Dr. Zwemke was going to add a couple of things here also.
Yes, sir.
To some of the numbers around why it's 4.0 when we know that there's been attrition or shifts in position, and why the number is a lower number than, let's say, some of the hiring that we've seen. I think just clarification would be important.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. I think if you look at our public site and you can see the amount of positions open, it looks like there's a lot more new than there is. These four positions, these three positions, humanities, STEAM, and college and career pathways, are part of our new learning and innovation department. That's going to be led by Dr. Paul. We also started really trying to staff based on equity versus equality. So for example, we recognize that an assistant director of multilingual learners is something that we need to add to our administrative structures for diverse learners, which we have an assistant superintendent that we're recommending this evening that would support that, along with a director of multilingual learners, again, adding more to that infrastructure. For example, right now, when you look at the number of assistant principals throughout our system, we will be adding another assistant principal to Boulder Hill in order to support that ecosystem and our children there. Junior high assistant principals, when you look and you see 4, you say to yourself, hey, actually we have 5 assistant principals. But when you do an equity-based model, you start to recognize where do junior high assistant principals for special education need to be, and then what could be shared, a shared model. So for example, we have a shared model due to minutes, programming, IEPs, and geography, where we'll be sharing a resource between Benarsic and Wolf's Crossing. So we really tried to use an equity-based model, and then we also wanted to make sure that through learning innovation, we are able to support a guaranteed and viable curriculum and instruction model.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Dr. Zwemke. So we're going to get into the numbers now. Thanks for the picture, Dr. So this is the assumptions that we make for the 5-year projection. We're assuming $4 million per year in EBF, and we're also assuming that we levy to what is allowed by statute, which is CPI. If we do that, what you can see is from fiscal year 25, we start gradually building our reserves. And so that by 2029, all things being equal, we'll have a healthy reserve. But I want to point out that this is a projection. The farther out you are from reality, the more dicey it is. So yeah, I'm just being very honest. If I can project interest rate and all this stuff accurately, I think I'll be selling bonds. I wouldn't be sitting here. So
do we start to get to a point? Not trying to get controversial, but do we start to get to a point with our balance where money starts to make money for us?
Oh,
in other words, where you can
the
start
more
making
reserves
short
we
term.
have, the more investments we have.
Right.
And the more investment we have, the more return yield that we have on our investment.
Right. Yep. Okay.
So that's what the projection is based on. But then if you all remember, board member Ploja asked me to look at some scary scenarios.
We'll get there, I'm sure.
So we'll talk about that. So this is the revenue comparison fiscal year 24 to 25. As I mentioned earlier, the local revenue is projected to be up by close to $7 million, or 5.28. State revenue, the increase that we're projecting is the $4 million in EBF, which is as a delta of 3.68. And federal revenue, as we mentioned earlier, the 5.2, don't ever let anyone get scared, that's the sunset of ESSER. That's planned, and we know that was coming. So total revenue increase of 5.7 or 2.3%. Fiscal year 25 compared to fiscal year 24.
Can I encourage you, is this uploaded on the website?
Not yet.
When you upload it, I would make a note what those red line items go to, like sunsetting of ESSER, because when somebody's looking at this without knowing, a narrative gets created that we don't need. So if we could just put the footnotes in that say what these are, that would be excellent.
Will do. Thank you. So what I always let people know, every opportunity I get, I started this presentation by saying that we depend on our community members to make our school district run. And the largest source of that revenue is local funds, property taxes. That's it. If you look at the revenue numbers that I just showed, we get $260 million in total revenue. 139 million of it, or 60%, is from property taxes. So we cannot function without property taxes. We have some minimal income in CPPRT, which is the replacement tax. As you saw, we're projecting that to stay flat in perpetuity. We have some fees that we charge our students, and we also sell foods. But the big kahuna of revenue is from property taxes, which is why it is imperative that we share this information with our community so they know that we depend on them in order for us to be successful as a school district financially. The next level of revenue is the state funding, 38%, 113 million. The biggest chunk of that, again, is EBF. Then the lowest amount is from the federal government, which is even lower in fiscal year 25 because of the sunsetting of ESSER. And that is really from Title Fund, Title I, Title II, Title III, and IDEA, as well as money that we get flow through from the state, from the National School Lunch Program, from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. So this is what our expenditure look like, fiscal year 24 compared to 25. If you look at it, the biggest component, the biggest increase, and also the biggest component is salary. I tell people all the time, we're in the people business. The majority of the money we spend is on people. We spend money on salary, we spend money on benefits. That by in and of itself is close to 70% of our expenditure every day. So a lot of time when I talk to people, and people tell me, why don't you just cut your budget? If we cut our budget, it's going to impact the classroom because that is where the money is. People, we have teachers who teach our kids. We have administrators who support those teachers in the school. So we're in the people business. So if you look at the $8.1 million and you go, wow, that's a big increase. I want to point out a couple of variables that impact that. One of them is ESSER. If you remember, we have about $3 million in salary funding that we paid out of ESSER that will now, based on the directive from the board about the importance of those positions, such as reading interventionist, as well as junior high athletics, we decided to continue to fund that through local funds. That accounts for the big chunk of that. That coupled with union agreement that we signed with our largest union, OEA, and the other unions that we have, that accounts for that 8.1 million. So it's an increase of 5%, which interestingly enough is in line with the CPI that we use for the levy, which is 5%. Employee benefits related to the position, 2.52 delta, $850,000 increase. Purchase services, a lot of time folks ask, what is purchase services? It's really a fancy word to say services that we contract for, consultant services. Those types of things will be the folks that were here earlier, Aramec. We pay them out of purchase services. We pay for our transportation company, the special ed transportation company, Durham, Septron. We pay for them out of purchase services. We pay the light that stays on right now. The utility companies that we pay for a light bill, we pay for them out of purchase services. The heat that heats a building in the winter, and also cool a building in the summer, we pay for that out of purchase services. Water the cost of water that we pay to the village of Oswego, we pay for that out of purchase services. Supplies and material, if you notice that was a decrease of 11%. It's what has been projected. And the way we were able to achieve that is the modified zero-based budget that we did this year. So instead of just assuming we're going to increase the budget by 5%, we had conversation with every single cost administrators. And they had to justify why they requested what they requested. And we were able to see that some of the expenditures that they had this year, they will need it next year. And that resulted in that 1.2 savings. Capital outlay, you can see a significant increase of 700%. Fiscal year 2024, this year, we only budget $223,000. We know we have 25 facilities. Most of our buildings were built 20 years ago. And that amount to about 10,000 a building. You know, in facility, 10,000 doesn't do anything. Heck, the $1.7 million that we budgeted out of local funds in fiscal year 25 is just, it's a tip of the iceberg. Our buildings need more, which is why we budgeted close to $1.5 million.
Can I ask you a question? When we complete our master's facility plan, will that number be more realistic or not guessing so much?
Yes. So part of what the master facility plan will do is it will include a bunch of things. We will engage educators, we engage our community members, we engage other stakeholders, even the board members, to look at what do we envision education looking like in our district. And then how does the building that we have now support the vision of what education looks like 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and 30 years from now. And then it will be used to determine what the master facility plan is. Once that is done, then a cost will be put on it. It will be based on today's dollars, though. And that will be a good benchmark to start seeing how much we need to start fixing our buildings.
So
it feels like sometimes we're taking shots in the dark, and that's not to be negative to anyone, but we didn't have the tools in place to help us facilitate this number.
Absolutely.
And we can look at 223,000 and no, it's not enough for a district of our size. So.
And 1.7 is not even close to it.
I know.
Yeah,
but that's all we can afford But we're going to spend more than that if you notice. We're actually going to spend $8.7 million in total. 1.7 is going to come from local funds. The difference is going to come from the proceeds of the working cash bond that we sold back in 2022. Now, part of it is supposed to be used for facility upgrade, so it would be the difference.
Is that the other objects that's on the next
Yes.
line?
Yes.
And then,
No, that would be the capital.
yeah, exactly.
If
So-
I can go back.
So why is that?
So if I go back here, that is, that's the 8.7 million.
Oh, yeah. Got it, okay.
And I just feel it necessary, I know we're all exhausted, I just feel it necessary to say how important this moment is, because we have tried so hard. Can you just say it, LaTanya?
No, you say it.
We have tried so hard to be proactive in this district instead of reactive. We have really pushed our admin hard to be proactive in the decisions that we made, so we constantly aren't paying bad payday loans and so forth. So this is such a monumental step forward. Once we have to budget again next year, we can plug that number in and know we can't take away from this number because we're borrowing from the future, and that's a compound negative. And so this is such a big, big deal.
Yes.
And when we get to I'm gonna wait, but when we get to the no levy EBF, there's a piece that I wanna add because I think it's very important for us to reflect on from a historical standpoint, but I'll wait till you get there. Because I think it's a reason why admin was forced into being reactive.
No, I agree.
And I think, but I'll wait till he gets there.
And if we can just put footnotes on these pages for those numbers, that's very helpful.
So the other objects are things like out of district student tuition and other related expenses. That's what that 8.8 is. Things that doesn't fit into that category. But I just wanted to point out a big chunk of that is special education out of district tuition as well as orphanage payment. That's what drives a big chunk of that. Non-capital equipment is equipment that doesn't fall into capital outlay because of the value and the useful lives of those equipment. That's what that is. So the total operational budget compared to current year operational budget is an increase of 9.8 and with a delta of 4.01. So I know we all learn differently. Some people look at numbers. I think some of us, we look at pictures. And I thought we should do a donut that breaks down essentially what I just talked about as far as the revenue.
Yeah.
So if you look at the revenue, 54%, as I mentioned earlier, is from local funds, property taxes. And 34% is from EBF or state revenue. And the rest are pretty puny compared to the two of the major funds. 3% that I mentioned earlier is the federal funds that we're getting. And the same thing goes for the expenditure. As I said earlier, we're in the people's business. 54% is salary, 14% is benefits, which is related to salary. 68% of the total expenditure is tied to people, and everything else is small compared to that. So when we're saying we need to cut people, it involves laying off folks.
Is this,
we need to cut the budget.
Is this the 255 million, or is this the?
This is 255 million. We're
Okay.
focusing just on the operating budget.
Yeah, I always, purchase services, a lot of that would end up being salary and benefits if it wasn't for purchase services. So it's kind of, I always add that into the salary and benefits for the most part, because a lot of it is related to people that we would have to hire.
Yeah.
So.
So just the picture I just showed, this is for folks who don't like pictures, who like writing, this is another way of putting that out. 68% of operating expenses are tied into salary and benefits. The remaining amount, 32%, is for non-personnel. I think purchase services is a big chunk of that. And I mentioned about contracted food services and utilities. Textbooks, it's a big part of it. equipment is computers and the software that we buy to run those computers and the software related to the presentation that was just given earlier for the
Everything.
American ASL, yes. Thank you. And then contracted transportation, special education, Durham, as well as Septron. And then some of that too, the gas that we put in those buses are actually paid out of purchase services too. And then property and casualty insurance, a big chunk of the expenditure that we have to insure our property. And then workers' comp, which is required by statute, is also paid out of workers' comp for when our employees get hurt on the job. That's the cost of making them whole and also paying for the medical costs of them being hurt. And then facility maintenance and repairs of the consultants that we consult with who do the RTU unit that we put in Plank will be paid out of the purchase services too. And then all the repairs that we have paid out of purchase services. So these are the scenarios that Board Member Plozier asked me about. So if we go back, this is EBF being flat. We get no increase in EBF in perpetuity for the duration of the 5-year projection. So I'm going to go back to where we get the $4 million. And you see we're going up nicely. Now, this scenario where ABF is flat, we got a bell curve. Is going down. And by the 5th year, we have a reserve of 23.7 instead of the 88 million. Look at how significant CBF is. But it gets better. Wait, like the commercial on TV says. If you look at the levy, the levy is actually, it has a more significant impact, significant negative impact on us, which is not surprising because the levy makes up a more significant amount of our revenue than even EBF does. So by the 5th year, we're down to 15 million from the 23 million of just EBF being flat. So as a district, we cannot afford not to levy to the statutory limit that the lawmakers say. We have to do that to have a viable school district and to ensure that our students have a good educational experience and they achieve to their potential. And now this is the one I'm calling a doomsday scenario, which none of us want to wake up to here. This is if there's no increase in EBF and CPI doesn't go up. It stays flat. If you look at that, by 2027, essentially 2 years from fiscal year 25, we only have $15 million. And then by 28, we have a negative of 10.8. And we can't have a negative fund balance. And by FY 29, we have a negative of 45 million. Now, if we go down this path, I can tell you for sure what will happen. Illinois State Board of Education will come in, they'll take us over, and they will run the district, and there will be the board, the ISB will appoint the board, and the state will run us. It will show that we do not have the ability to be able to run ourselves. That's what will happen if we go this path.
One of the reasons, obviously, I've always advocated for this because I'll be honest. I wanted to call some board members out because I want to know how they were advocating for this. But beyond that, I wanted the community, people in the community, to explain how they were advocating what they were advocating for. But beyond that, we actually have done this. And I think it's important to note this was done. So I hope people know this was done. Because when we didn't levy, the state was prorating at the same time. And for those that don't know what that means, instead of funding at 100%, the state was funding at like 91, 92, 93%. The board that was in place at the time decided they were not going to levy at the same time. So when people were asking, well, how come we're having to make cuts for 1, 2, 3, 4 years in a row, and how come we were having to make so many cuts in the millions of dollars year after year? We did this. The community did this. And they didn't even realize that they were doing it at the time. They were not levying, and the state was prorating. We've lived this. All the pain that was felt over the last decade, there it is. It's right in front of you. And for those people who want to be in my quote-unquote fan club and take it nationwide, which is fine with me, pay attention, because there it is. You can criticize me all you want. That's fine. I don't care. But look, it's right there, and we did it. And that's like why I do care about the community. I don't care if people think whatever they think about me. But look, it's right there. Please don't make this mistake again. We have little kids who need an education. We should all care about them. Yes, I know some people get tired of me ad nauseum talking about this, but I watched it all go down. It wasn't fun, and there it is. And that's what we need to extrapolate out of this.
A generation to come back from that.
Well, I mean, I think we are, listen, in theory, if the state functions properly, and if we levy, we could be in very good shape by 2029, right? Those are some what ifs. Those are some what ifs, but it also can take one election, and this is where the community has to pay attention. It could also take one election where someone ignores that up there, and we're right back under the bright lights doing some uncomfortable things.
Just to support what you just said, the levy that we're getting an increase of close to $7 million this year. If we decide not to levy that $7 million, what you do, you essentially lose it forever.
Yes.
You can't go back and recapture it. So 10, 11 years from now, my back of the envelope calculation shows that $7 million becomes something like between $42 to $55 million.
Correct.
That's lost for good.
Correct.
Now, imagine if we have that money to start fixing our building the way we need to fix our buildings now.
The compounding of that has been detrimental to this district. I just appreciate having one chart in color that shows us exactly what can, this is all that's needed, right? Like, this is what could happen if we don't do it.
Well, but beyond that, it has happened. Like, we have done it.
But
We were not levying while proration was going on.
Right.
And while we had historical debt all at the same time. Like, it's kind of crazy to say that out loud, but that's exactly what we did as a community.
What did there was a calculation that was done. We determined that where were we?
We did it. It was about 50. He's absolutely right. 47 to 55 million.
$50 million that we never got because of those decisions.
And we will never get it.
And we'll
it
never
still
get
impacts
it.
our levy till
Every year.
forever.
On the next
Thank you, Ms. Rom.
On the next chart on your frequently asked questions, what are the benefit expenses expected in fiscal year 25 to 24? And they're going up 5.11%. What is that? It's the second column, first question.
First question, what was the increase from the amended operating budget to FY? So that's the difference in FY 24
Opposite side.
FY 25. The opposite side.
What are the benefits?
Oh, that's the cost of the benefits.
So what
Health
happened is we
insurance,
pulled out of being self-funded, but we're saving.
No, this is everything. This is everything. This will be retirement contribution, TRS, IMRF, FICA, health insurance, dental, vision, life insurance. That's all of that.
I just want to say that's a pretty good number, so it's not horrible.
So after doing this presentation, after developing this PowerPoint, we thought about the questions that folks may have after looking at it, and we developed an FAQ, and that's what this is. And I always want to point out the last question, what's the district total outstanding debt? We still have close to $312 million outstanding from the 200 plus that we issued back in 2006. The critical thing folks need to keep in mind is that issuing bonds, taking out bond debt is similar to a mortgage. The first few years, all you're paying is interest. And then the next 10 years or so, then you start tackling the principal. So we've been paying about $37 million for a while now. Then by the time we get to 2027, that amount drops to about $19 million. And and then it start dropping so that by the time we get to 2034, we have zero outstanding debt.
That's great.
You know, just the general tenor, or if you had to take away from the community engagement pieces, because I intended to go, but I ended up not being able to. What was the general theme? What was kind of the, you know?
Folks were just, they were really happy and content to have insight to our finances. And they've never really had an idea of what our finance consisted of, where our revenue comes from, what our expenses are. That was the feedback that I get. Just an opportunity to have an idea as to how we spend money, where our money comes from, how we spend our money. That's the theme that I receive consistently, the feedback that I get from folks who are in attendance.
Thank you, Mr. Obafemi. It's clear the amount of work that went into this, so thank you so much for your investments. And nice to end it on a student with student voice. So, next we want to invite Michelle Early, who's going to speak regarding Parent University. To see if the board has any questions you found in your packet, some information, and Dr. Waller will open for us.
Hello. Okay. Oh, it's in it now. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Very thrilled to share with you a lot of information regarding the Parent University partnership. Michelle Early has been leading us in this endeavor. We have had some pretty powerful experiences with collaborating with the chapter in Chicago, with collaborating with some folks in Savannah, Georgia. But I won't speak too much. Michelle Early is the one who's very passionate about this amazing community opportunity.
Good evening. Thank you so much for letting me speak on behalf of the Parent University Partnership with SD308. You all had a chance to review the memo that was presented to you guys today, but I just kind of want to reiterate the fact that a parent university is really our way to educate and empower our parents, our community members, our guardians, to be those partners, advocates, and lifelong learners who can support their child's academic journey. Are there any questions regarding the memo? No questions are good questions.
Who do we see this benefiting the most?
This definitely benefits our parents of our community. The purpose behind the Parent University is for it to be parent-driven. So it's a little bit different than when I used to support community chats. Community chats was more of me kind of throwing out a topic and then creating that safe space virtually. This is actually going to be parent-led. So we're going to meet the parents where they are. The parents are going to provide us with the topics and sessions that they want to know more about. That can be as simple as mindfulness strategies to art therapy to FAFSA, mental health, all the things that our kids go through throughout their journey. So it's really getting that parent feedback and supporting them in this journey.
And how do they take that lead? How do they, and I kind of already know some of these answers, but I think it's really important. How are we going to communicate and show them that this is available and help them kind of lift it off the ground?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So within our superintendent advisory group, I was able to pull members to be part of a community partnership focus group. Those individuals are really passionate about community outreach, community engagement. So we have started the process of creating a survey that kind of identifies what is Parent University, why is it important, why are we implementing this within our district, and then kind of gave some guiding topics of what options could be available to them. And then kind of left it open feedback for them to go ahead and respond to this survey. So the survey that we created is going to be translated into Spanish. After this presentation, or after this discussion tonight, I will work with our communications department that will be putting out a flyer for the community that talks a little bit about Parent University. And kind of, it's like a little teaser, right? Like, this is coming, so keep an eye out. So we will definitely do that. Did I answer the question?
I just want to add that we also felt that it was important for us to collaborate with neighboring districts, so we are hosting the first ones, but they will be able to be guests. We recognize that between like Boulder Hill and a school in West Aurora is like 5 minutes apart. And so knowing that we service Aurora, we wanted to collaborate with West Aurora, East Aurora. So we're going to continue to build that, but ultimately, we know it's challenging at times to get families into spaces. So we felt that if we were to expand this opportunity, that we could continue to build and grow and learn, more about what's needed, as well as getting people in the space.
Thank you, Dr. Waller.
And I think it's important to, and I know you will work on this, but a lot of parents are stretched so thin. I think during the community chats, we learned that a lot, and how we get the resources in their hands and break through a lot of those barriers to getting them to participate is going to be part of the challenge.
Yeah.
So I think
Well put.
No,
go ahead.
Just to respond to that, I feel like the difference is when we hold these parent universities, it'll be on a weekend, it'll be on a Saturday from 11 to 3. We are trying to remove as many barriers as possible, so providing childcare, providing light stacks, translation opportunities for our families. Eventually, we will work up to that transportation piece and looking at if we can identify maybe 2 or 3 routes that families can get to, and then pick them up and drive them here. Another thing that would be a huge incentive is we're going to bring the community resources to the parent university, so parents that might not know, oh, hey, I need to know that, are going to, it's there for them. So we're meeting them where they are. We're providing them with what they may not know they need until it's right there.
Thank you both for your leadership. I know it's required a lot of investment of time and learning and gathering, and so thank you, and we're excited to see how this goes. And
Yes,
Thank you so much, you guys.
Thank you for waiting all night.
Yep. 9.8, I want to invite Ms. Dahlquist and Dr. Kincaid to speak to the Consolidated District Program application.
You heard from Mr. Ofemi earlier about revenue during the budget presentation, and this is part of that. Annually, we submit the Consolidated District Plan to the state, and that is the first step in our applications for a lot of the federal grants. Just to recap, some of the big federal grants, the Title I program is where we get funding for some of our schools with a higher percentage of students from low-income families. Title I Part A is school improvement from schools that are have an annual state designation. Title II is professional development. Title III is language instruction. Title IV carries a lot, but that's safety, drug, health, enrichment. And then the IDA grants, which are flow through for special education, as well as our preschool for all. This slide is just showing the amount of money that we've gotten over the last few years from this process. And then these are the requirements of the Consolidated District Plan. We have to have an evidence of coordination of grants and services. And I just want to throw out some kudos to Dr. Calgatti and the team for the 8 priorities so that we could easily take through those. And you saw in the memo that we had put together how the new Consolidated District Plan aligns with the priorities. We do conduct a needs assessment with staff that we had over 600 staff members complete. And then we involve a lot of stakeholders, parents, and administrators and teachers in this process. We have to show alignment to our goals to the state, And then we have to have assurances of sound auditing processes that go into this, and then coordination with private schools and foster care. Do you have any questions about our plan? Okay.
Thank you so much. 9.9, Operations Project Update. Mr. Queen.
Good evening, Board. So this is that time of year where we're really busy, and it's a lot of hurry up and wait just because we're waiting on two things, the change of weather and school to get out, right? So I'd just like to start and touch on a few points. I had my first roof construction meeting with Adler Roofing, and things are going great there. We are anticipating the start of that as soon as school lets out. And tentatively, we'll have that one wrapped up by the beginning of July, end of June. So we're making our way there. Plank RTU unit went great. Like, we got in their spring break. Those guys knocked it out of the box for us. They got all 5 units set, minimal hiccups. We even had rain in the forecast. I commend that team and MG Mechanical. They did a great job with getting that job brought into us and giving us a great jump on this summertime. Moving on, I have a couple of other things we have on the agenda tonight for information. Boulder Hill Long Beach Towers.
9.10.
You want to just
go
roll
ahead.
right into
Yep,
that one, Dr. K?
9.10. Yes, sir. Mr.
9.10. So I want to give you a little bit background. These towers were originally installed in 1992, so we've used our life. My team has fixed them and repaired them as much as they can.
Just pause. One second, Mr. Queen. We just pause for a second. We'll just wait for 1 second.
Getting my bid tib up there, sir?
Just give me 1 minute. We need one more person. We'll pause for a momentary break. Okay, continue.
All right. Oh, we're waiting on Madam President. Not a problem. Not yet.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
So I just wanted to give you a little bit of background on the tower basins and what they are. Our systems are mostly generally a two water pipe system, right? Hot water to heat, cold water to cool it. And these towers assist us in cooling that once it gets back to our chillers for the building. So it's just an added extra cooling stage before we get to the building level. And like I stated before, they are very out of date. 1992 is when they were originally installed, and we can't fix them no more, and it's time for them to go. So its administration recommends Commercial Mechanical, Inc., from Dunlop, Illinois, to be awarded the contract for Boulder Hill Long Beach Towers in the sum of $421,500. Any questions? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Queen. This concludes our consent agenda items.
All right. 10.1, oh. We've lost some people.
Yeah.
I really take the show, I guess.
Without the secretary.
We have to work on the length of the agenda.
Here it comes.
We need quorum, gentlemen.
We can't go on without you. We need to go to 10.1 now. I went out the room, we lost quorum. Jared, I'm on 10.1 now. You ready?
Yeah.
Oh, man, we missed it.
Yeah, wow, I'm impressed.
Action item 10.1, approval of residency program. Can I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve the agreement for consulting services with National Center for Teacher Residencies in the amount of $30,000.
Second.
Dr. Mario?
Aye.
Mr. Cerrone?
Aye.
Ms. Simulton?
Aye.
Mr. Gatewood?
Aye.
Ms. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Ploger?
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. Action item 10.2, approval of the Fox Chase and the Hunt Club concrete and asphalt pavement rehabilitation. Can I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to award the contract for the Fox Chase and Hunt Club asphalt concrete rehabilitation work to Geneva Construction for a total contract amount of $554,003.
Second.
Dr. Maria,
Aye.
Ms. Johnson,
Aye.
Mr. Ploger,
Aye.
Mr. Saron,
Aye.
Mr. Gatewood,
Aye.
Ms. Simulton.
Aye, motion passes 6-0. Action item 10.3, approval of the 2024-2025 board meeting calendar. Can I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve the 2024-25 Board of Education meeting calendar as discussed and presented.
Second.
Dr. Maria,
Aye.
Mr. Saron,
Aye.
Ms. Simulton,
Aye.
Mr. Gatewood,
Aye.
Ms. Johnson,
Aye.
Mr. Ploger.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. Action item 10.4, approval of destruction of the audio recordings of the closed session meetings from April 25, 2022 through September 26, 2022. Can I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to approve the destruction of the audio recordings of the closed session meetings from April 25th, 2022 through September 26, 2022.
Second.
No, it's the next one.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Saron,
Aye.
Mr. Gatewood,
Aye.
Ms. Johnson,
Aye.
Mr. Ploger,
No.
Dr. Maria,
Aye.
Ms. Simulton.
Aye. Motion passes 5-1. 10.5, action item, approval of the release of closed session minutes. Can I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to make available no closed session minutes at this time due to a determination that they require continued confidentiality.
Second.
Dr. Maria,
Aye.
Mr. Saron,
Aye.
Ms. Simulton,
Aye.
Mr. Gatewood,
Aye.
Ms. Johnson,
Aye.
Mr. Ploger.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. Action item 10.6, approval of building administrator contract. Can I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to approve the building administrator contract as presented.
Second.
Second. Oh.
Ms. Simulton,
Aye.
Mr. Saron,
Aye.
Mr. Ploger,
Aye.
Mr. Gatewood,
Aye.
Dr. Maria,
Aye.
Ms. Johnson.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. Action item 10.7, approval of district administrator contracts. Can I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve the district administrator contracts as presented.
Second.
Mr. Ploger,
Aye.
Dr. Maria,
Aye.
Ms. Simulton,
Aye.
Mr. Saron,
Aye.
Ms. Johnson,
Aye.
Mr. Gatewood.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. Action item 10.8, approval of district administrator contracts for 2024-2025. Can I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to approve the administrator contracts for 2024-25 as discussed in closed session.
Second.
Second.
I have a question. Can we, moving forward, can we have a little bit of clarity on what these look like from a perspective of experience, education, experience in the district, and so forth, to make sure that there's equity built around these? Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
I thought we did that in the.
No, maybe you guys have thought about that. I just want to make sure that we have a upward trajectory for these
In the
roles
HR
and stuff like
meeting.
that.
How
Thank you.
administrative. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Ms. Simulton,
Aye.
Mr. Saron,
Aye.
Dr. Maria,
Aye.
Mr. Gatewood,
Aye.
Ms. Johnson,
Aye.
Mr. Ploger.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. Action item 10.9, approval of personnel report. Can I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to approve the personnel report as presented.
Second.
Mr. Saron,
Aye.
Mr. Gatewood,
Aye.
Ms. Johnson,
Aye.
Mr. Ploger,
Aye.
Ms. Simulton,
Aye.
Dr. Maria.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. Action item 11.1. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.